the Full Stack Development course by Simplilearn. Imagine being the person who builds an entire website or app from start to finish, handling everything from the design and user experience to the server and database. Behind the scenes. That's exactly what a full stack developer does. They have the skills to work on both the front end, that what users see, and the back end, that is the logic and the data management of a software solution. So now let's move on and see what is actually full stack development. So full stack development means working on both the client side, that is the front end, and the server side, that is the back end of a web or a mobile application. So it involves creating everything a user interacts with and the infrastructure that processes the data, stores the information, and serves the content. So think of it as like a jack of all trades in web or application development. You know how to build a complete system, not just one piece. So let's now move on and understand what programming languages are actually included in the full stack development. So full stack developers use a mix of languages depending on the project. But commonly, we have the front end languages as HTML. That is basically the skeleton or the structure of a web page. And then we have CSS, that is the styles, the page, making it looking attractive and organized. It's basically the styling of a website. And then we have JavaScript. It makes the web page interactive, having buttons, animations, forms, and etc. Then now moving to the backend languages. So the first we have is JavaScript, that is the Node.js. So JavaScript is on the server side. And then we have Python, that is basically popular for the web servers and APIs. And it's very user-friendly. And then we have Java, the all-time favorite, and it is used in the enterprise applications. It is well known for its security purposes. Then we have Ruby, that is known for the quick development with Ruby on Rails. And then we have PHP, that is very common for the dynamic websites. And then we have C# or .NET, that is used mainly in the Microsoft environments. So then moving on, we'll understand the databases. And in databases, we have two choices. So there is SQL base, that is MySQL and PostgreSQL. And then we have NoSQL, that is MongoDB and Firebase. So after we are aware of the programming languages that actually make you a full stack developer, let's get into and see what are the skills we actually need to become a full stack developer. So to be a strong full stack developer, you should develop skills in front-end technologies, that is the HTML, CSS, JavaScript frameworks like the React, Angular or Vue.js. Then we have backend development, that is the knowledge of the server-side languages and frameworks like Node.js, Django, that is in Python, or Spring Boot, that is in Java. And then we have databases, that is basically the understanding relational and non-relational databases. And then we have version control systems, that is using Git and platforms like GitHub to actually manage the code you'll write. And then therefore moving on to the next required skill is APIs and RESTful services. That is knowing how to build and consume APIs to connect the different parts of an application. Then we should have a basic understanding of knowing the UI UX principles to build the user-friendly interfaces. And then the most important thing is problem solving. So debugging and optimizing code is very much important because actually knowing how to debug your code will actually help you become a full stack developer. And then we have is deployment and cloud basics of hosting applications on the cloud services like AWS, Azure or Heroku or anything like that. So now after we have known all the skills let's move on and understand the roles and responsibilities of a full stack developer. So here's what a full stack developer typically does. The first one is it designs and develops the user-facing features. That is basically we build the front-end part that users interact with. Then it is about building the back-end services and APIs. It is basically handling the data processing, business logic and integration. And then we have this managed databases, that is while designing, maintaining and query databases to store information securely. And then we have ensure the responsiveness and performance. So make sure the app works well on the devices and runs smoothly. And then we have to collaborate with the teams that we known as the team worker. So work with the designers, product managers and other developers to deliver a cohesive product. And then we have debug and troubleshoot. So fixing issues both on the client side and the server side will actually help you go along. And then finally we have maintain the quality code. That is writing clean, maintainable code and updating the existing features where necessary. And then we have staying updated. So keep learning new technologies and tools to improve the development process. Your learning should not stop. So if you're excited by building the complete applications and solving challenges on both the front and the back end, full stack development is a rewarding career that offers flexibility and a wide range of career opportunities. So in this video, we will be guiding you through Java as a backend technology as it is highly in demand. So let's dive in and get into it.
First, we'll go through a quick introduction to basic web architecture to understand how the internet works. Then we'll understand what exactly HTML is. After that, we'll have a look at what CSS is. Then we'll go through JavaScript. And in the end, we'll create a simple web page using HTML and CSS to gain a better understanding of the HTML tags. So without further ado, let's begin. Now, what exactly is the basic web architecture? Now, web architecture is made up of three essential elements. That's the website, that is the front end of a web application that is visible to the user. Then there is the server, which constitutes the back end of a web application and holds and manages all the data. And finally, there's the IP address, that is the address assigned to a website in order to be accessible on the internet. First up, let's have a look at what website is. So your browser starts by loading the main HTML file and then the CSS and JavaScript. The user interacts with the website and is not concerned with the backend of an application. Now secondly, we have the server. Once you've developed your website, you'll have to host it on your server to make it accessible on the internet. Server, along with the database, contains all the data of a website and facilitates user interaction. Lastly, there's IP address, which is the third element of the web architecture. Now, website is hosted on an IP address. We put a domain name over that IP address the same way we put names over people's phone numbers. When you type a domain name in the browser, it will give you the server call. The server will then send over the website to you. Next, what is HTML? HTML is the most widely used markup language for developing and structuring web pages on the internet. It defines the structure of websites and formats these web pages. So what exactly is CSS then? Now CSS is a simple design language used for making web pages look more beautiful and presentable. It can be attached to any HTML element to style it or even position it according to the developer's choice. Then you must be wondering, what exactly is JavaScript? Now, JavaScript is a powerful interpreted language targeted for web development. It is used for making web pages interactive and bringing the web pages to life. So now let's create your first website. Now, HTML, short for Hypertext Markup Language, is the coding standard for documents designed for web browsers consisting of a series of elements or tags, and which can be used to structure a web page, right? So these elements can include headings, paragraphs, div containers, tables, and more. HTML tags are nested, meaning there are opening and closing tags with the content in between those tags. So now let's write a simple HTML code that will help you understand the basics of the language. So for this, I'm using the text editor, that is Visual Studio Code. You can go ahead and download this text editor from their official website. So here I've created a simple .html file in my VS Code, and I've added the initial HTML files. Now let me explain to you one by one. Now doc type is not so much of a tag, but it is more of an instruction. Now this indicates the browser that the document type to be served to the user is in fact an HTML document. Now this doc type instruction should always be included at the very top of your HTML page. Next up, you have the HTML tag that is used to contain all the web page's HTML code, right? So it contains an opening and closing tag with contents in between them. The HTML tag can also have attributes. Now, for example, there's the lang attribute allowing you to specify the spoken language of the contents of the page. Followed by the HTML tag, there's the head tag. Now, this is the first section of the code that contains all of the information about the web page's properties, links, and more. It could have page's title, description, additional meta tags, and CSS code. So here I've used the title tag, and let's give a title, say HTML in 10 minutes. Alright. You can also add CSS to the head tag by using the style tag and change the display styles of HTML elements that are being used. The next section is the body tag. Now the body tag contains all the displayable contents of your web page, including headings, paragraphs, div containers, tables, and more. Now the HTML header tags are used to add headings to a web page. There are several types of headings available for developers to add to a web page, right? So first up, let's have a look at them. I'm going to create a simple h1 heading tag, and the message I'm displaying is this is the first heading. Alright. After this, I'm going to add a paragraph tag which creates padding in the top and bottom of the element to help separate the text between each paragraph. Right? So I'm going to add a p tag and say this is the paragraph tag. After this, let me add a simple h2 tag, which is another heading tag, and say this is the second heading. Now you can also add line breaks, which are helpful from time to time. If you want to provide a single line break in your content, you can do so by adding the br tag. So here, let me just add one for better understanding. Now the HTML div tag defines a division or a section in an HTML document that is used as a container for other HTML elements. Now these elements can include content areas, sidebars, page bars, page headers, footers, etc. This tag is used to apply styles to HTML elements that cannot be added otherwise. You can also make use of the HTML image tag to add images to a web page. Now these images in a web page are a very common sight, and they can make the website look more attractive. So for that, we can use the image tag. So say img, within which I mention the source. I'm adding the HTML logo, so let me just mention that here. And then I'm going to provide width for it and then a specific height. Alright, so when you save the file and when you look at the browser, you can see that the first heading is displayed, then your paragraph tag is displayed, followed by the second heading and then the image. Now let me show you how you can add styles for some of these headings and paragraph tags. So here back in my first heading tag, let me just say styles, and let me change the font of the content that is being displayed, and I'm going to change it to Career New. And for my paragraph tag, let me display the content in italics, so I'll say font style and make it italics. So let me save this, and when I look at the browser, you can see that the font has changed and so has the font style here. So now we've covered a few important HTML tags used to develop a web page. Now there are many other tags available for almost everything you'd want to add to a web page. Now all of these are available on the internet for you and you can use them in your website.
I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about CSS so you can turn your blind HTML into something more presentable. If you already do not know the HTML, you can check our video, that HTML in 10 minutes, where we have covered everything you need to know to get started working with HTML. We'll not be covering every property and options that CSS has to offer because there are hundreds of them. But we'll cover all the basic concepts you need to know to get started working with CSS. So let's get started. Today, we'll be covering what is HTML and a brief introduction about CSS. Then we'll discuss what are CSS syntax and what are CSS selectors. So, what is an HTML? HTML, also called the Hypertext Markup Language, is the most widely used language for developing web pages. It defines the structure of the websites and format web pages. All the content that you add on the web pages are through HTML. So, what is CSS? CSS, which is a short form of Cascading Style Sheet, is a simple design language which is used for making web pages look good and presentable. We format our web pages through CSS. It can be attached to any HTML element and style or even position according to developer's choice. It gives you freedom to edit things on the web pages how you want. Now that we know what CSS is, let's dive into how to use CSS. For that, we need to understand the syntax of the CSS. So, luckily the syntax is straightforward and easy to understand. The first part of the syntax is the selector. There are many different types of combinations and types of selectors. For now, all you need to know is the syntax starts with the selector. Next comes the curly braces. Inside the curly braces, we add the property and its values. So this is the complete syntax of the selector. The name of the selector first, followed by the curly braces, and inside the curly braces, we add the property and the value. This is an example of a selector. Here, h1 is our element and we have changed the color of the heading 1 to red. Now that we have discussed the syntax, let's now discuss about the selectors. So, the last example that we discussed was an example of an element selector. This is the class selector. We specify the class selector by a dot, followed by the class name and the property value. The ID selector we mentioned by the hash sign. Hash, ID name and followed by the property value. Now that we know about the selectors and the syntax, let's jump to a demo to understand the CSS better. So, we are on our Sublime text editor and we have two files ready, index.html and style.css. Let's start by adding the standard HTML boilerplate. We'll add the title as what is CSS. Now, to link our HTML file with the style file, we'll use the link tag. So link, and here we'll name the style file, that is style.css. Now our HTML file is linked with our CSS file. Now let's create something basic. So we'll add an h1 and we'll say introduction to CSS. Let's add a p tag. This is the introduction. Now, to add a style to this page, we'll go to the style sheet and we'll select the element h1. We'll change its color to red. Okay. Now just save the file and open this index.html. So you can see this h1 is of color red and this is our p tag. This is how the basic CSS works. Let's do something more. Let's discuss a little bit more about the priority order. So we'll go back to our Sublime Text Editor, and here we'll add H1 color to blue. Now think, which of the style will work? In CSS, the style order works from top to bottom. So if you see the flow, first the color will change to red, and after that the color will change to blue. So the current style should be the blue. So if you go back and refresh, you'll see this H1 is blue. Okay, now let's go back and add a class here. So we'll name this class, say, red. Now if you go back and change this to dot red, color red, and the H1 to blue. Now you'll think that the color of the H1 should be blue, since the H1, this element, is below this one. But that is not true. Element selectors are the lower level of the selectors. So when you go back to the page and refresh, okay, I think we haven't saved this. Save the file and now refresh. You'll see the H1 changes to red. So the CSS gives priority to the class selector, after that the ID selector, and at last the element selector. Now let's discuss the different ways you can add your color. So the first one is the name. You can add different color names here. There are several colors preloaded in the CSS. You can say pink, save the file, go back, and you see the color changes to pink. The second way is through the hash value. Hash value is a color combination in the terms of numeric and letters. You can check the value of any color through a website called Color Picker. So just select the color picker here, and you can see we have the hex value of different colors. So let's select this color. This is the hash value. So just copy here, save, and go back. You can see the color changes to green. To know more about colors, you can check our CSS colors video in the CSS playlist. Next we are going to discuss about the box model. So for that, we are going to create a new div. So we'll create one div here. And give it a class name box. Save this. Now go back to the CSS and let's create our box. So to create a box, we have to specify the height. So we'll set the box height to say 100 pixels. We'll set the width to 100 pixels too. So this will be 100 pixels. We'll set the padding to 20 pixels. Padding is the space between the boxes and the border. And we'll set the margin to 50 pixels. We'll add the border as 10 pixel, solid, and any color of your choice. Let's say cyan. So just save the file and go back. Now if you refresh, we have this box. You can see this is the margin part and the padding is this part, the space between the two boxes. Let's add a background color. So to add the background color, we'll use the background color property and we'll keep it to light pink, or light pink. Go back and refresh. Let's inspect this element to understand the box model better. So right click and click on inspect. Now below you'll see this is our box model. You can see this is the padding part, this is the border, and this is the margin. I hope you understand the box model better now. So we have discussed about the different elements and class selectors. We have discussed how you can add the colors to your elements, and now we have discussed the box model and its different properties. So this pretty much sums up everything you need to know to get started with CSS.
First, let's have a look at a brief history of JavaScript. JavaScript was written in 10 days by Brendan Eich in 1995. He was working at Netscape at the time and was implementing Java, the hot buzzword for the browser. Later, he developed a more easy-to-use programming language called Mocha. The idea was to make Java available for big professional component writers, while Mocha would be used for small scripting tasks. Mocha was later renamed to JavaScript. Now, in 2009, Node.js was released. This allowed programmers to write full applications in JavaScript. NPM was also created for installing reusable bits of code in libraries. So moving on, what exactly is JavaScript? JavaScript is a server-side and client-side programming language. It is commonly used to create web applications. Now, all of these applications in JavaScript can be seen in diverse fields like gaming, web development, server development, robotics, among others. Popular JavaScript libraries and frameworks like React.js and Angular have scaled tremendously in the past few years. Moving ahead, let me show you a simple demo to implement a few concepts of JavaScript. Let's head to VS Code for this. Alright, so back in my VS Code, I've created a folder called demo_js, within which I've created a file for variables, which is the HTML file. Alright, I've also added the initial code for it with the title tag and the heading tag. And now within the script, I'm going to define my variables. So here, let me say var, the keyword var, and say x equals 5. Now, JavaScript is loosely typed, and also all these variables can be declared as and when they're being used. Alright, so with this variable, I can just print it out. Let me say document dot write x. Alright, so let's go and open the file. Alright, so here you can see the heading has been displayed with the value of x, that is 5. Now we can also perform various actions on these variables. So let me say variable y equals 3, and then let's say variable sum equals x plus y. And here let me just output the sum. Have a look at the browser. It displays 8. Alright, so now let's go ahead and create another HTML file to understand how arrays work in JavaScript. So let's say arrays.html. Alright, let me just copy the initial code for the same. Alright, I've added the initial code for it. And now let's go ahead and create an array. So here, let me say I'm going to create an array of cars. So let's say cars, within which I say BMW. And then I say Volvo. And then I say Honda. Alright, so we successfully created an array. Now we can just output it using console log. Say console log cars of 0, which indicates the value of the array at the position index, at the index position 0. Similarly, let's just say console.log cars 2. Alright, so when we save it and then execute it, let's have a look at the browser. You can see it's displayed BMW, which was at the index position 0, and then it's displayed Honda, which was at the index position 2. Now let's display the length of the array. So for that we can make use of the len property and say cars.length here. And after this, we'll just console log it. So let's say len. Alright. So when we have a look at the browser, we have 3 here, which indicates the length of our array. Now we can also perform other actions like looping over it. So let's have a look at JavaScript loops. So I'm going to create another file here and say loops.html. So I've also added the initial code now. So now let's first look at the simple for loop. So here, let me create a variable called n. Alright, and then I'll say document.write. Let's display a simple message saying the numbers are. Alright, and let me just break the line. Alright, now to display the numbers from 0 to 9, I'm just going to use the for loop saying for n equals 0, n less than 10, n plus plus, and then I'm going to display the values. So I say document.write n, and let's just give a space between the numbers. So yeah. Alright, so now when we have a look at the browser, you can see it says the numbers are, and it displays the digits 0 to 9. Now let's look at another example for loops. So I'm going to create another script tag. And now let me just say document.write. Now I'm just gonna add space, add 2 lines from the previous one. So let me just add these first. Alright. And now let's say let y equals, I'm gonna create an array. So let's say 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 and 14. Yeah, and then let's say for, I'm going to create an index variable that is I equals 0 to length equals y dot length, and sum equals 0 and I less than length I plus plus. So here I've just created 3 different variables and initialize them here. So I've created an index variable I, a length variable for length, and then we have the sum variable that records the sum of the array. And then I've made sure that the variable I is less than the length, and then I've used the increment operator. So now let's say sum plus equals y of I, and then say document dot write the sum is sum. Alright, so let's save and execute this. So here you can see that the sum 56 is being displayed. So this is how you make use of loops. You can also use the while loop. However, I'm not going to get into the details of it. I'm going to help you understand how functions in JavaScript work. So I'll say functions.html. And let me also add the initial code. Alright, so now one thing to remember is that there are various ways to define a function in JavaScript. However, in this video, I'm going to show you 2 different methods. One is using the function constructor, and the other one is using functions expressions. Now, when it comes to function constructor, we make use of the function keyword and the new keyword. Alright, so now let's just see how it works. So let's say where my function equals new, and the function keyword here, which is the constructor, I say function. Within this, I'm going to define my function. So I'm just making use of the simple sum function that adds 2 numbers. So let's say A and B, these 2 are the parameters. And when I'm returning it, I say return A plus B. Alright, first let me define the variables. So now when I call the function, I say variable x equals my function, and I'm going to pass the digits. Let's say 2, 3. Alright, and now I'll say let's display it. So demo, if you've seen, I've created an ID called demo here, so I can make use of that here. and I say dot inner HTML. The sum is X. Alright, so now let's save it and have a look at the browser. You can see the sum 5 is being displayed. So now let me show you how to create a function using function expressions. So let me create another script tag. Alright, and now let me say variable y equals function, and the parameters that I'm going to be passing are a comma b, and when I'm defining the function I say return a plus b. So what we're doing here is that the function expression is being stored in a variable, and this variable can be used anywhere in your script. Alright, so now let's say x equals y of 8 comma 5. Alright, and then let's just display the value of x. Alright, so now let's have a look at the browser. You can see it displays 13. So I highly recommend you check out the video on JavaScript functions by Simplilearn that explains the concept of functions in detail. We'll be learning all about React.js. So let's jump in and see what's in store for us. So we'll be covering topics on what is React, why React, features of React, React prerequisites, and its industry trends. Let's go ahead and begin with what is React. React is a JavaScript library used to build fast and interactive user interfaces for both web and mobile applications. Now, one thing that makes React extremely powerful is the fact that it's open source. Any user can access its source code, modify it, and enhance it. In a typical model view controller architecture, React defines the view part of the application. It is also responsible for how the app looks and feels. Fun fact, React was built by Jordan Walke, an engineer at Facebook. Now let's go ahead and see how React works in real time. Consider a typical web application, say Instagram. The entire UI of the web page is divided into several components. We have the search component, a profile description component, stories component, and a post list component. These components make the code easier to debug and always remain discrete. Components also make development and maintenance of web applications faster, as multiple developers can work simultaneously on different components of the same web application. Now let's see why React is so popular these days. React helps in creation of dynamic web applications. It also provides performance enhancements. Now there are several performance enhancements like virtual DOM and one-way data binding. We'll learn about these topics a little later in the video. React uses reusable components. Now this helps decrease the development time. React involves unidirectional flow of data. React also has a small learning curve. Compared to other frameworks like Angular, React is much easier to learn. React can also be used for mobile applications. React recently released an extension called React Native that is used for developing mobile applications that are cross-compatible. It also has dedicated tools for easy debugging. Now let's dive into the features of React. First, let's understand JSX. JSX is a syntax extension to JavaScript. Using JSX, we can add HTML to the JavaScript file. All coding in React is done using JSX. It also helps in making the code easier to understand and debug. Ultimately, JSX is a combination of JavaScript and HTML. Now let's consider a small example. Const simple here is a JavaScript notation. H1 tags indicate HTML. Again, the semicolon indicates JavaScript. Note that the semicolon is not mandatory. However, it's a good practice to include it. Moving on, the next feature is virtual DOM. DOM, which is an acronym for Data Object Model, actually defines how documents are accessed and manipulated in a web page. It represents the entire structure of the web page in the form of a tree. Now let's see how this actually works. React creates a virtual DOM that is the exact copy of the real DOM. Traditionally, whenever something changes in the web application, all objects in the real DOM are updated. This makes it extremely slow. Let's see how React counters this. Now consider two objects whose states have been changed. React now compares the virtual DOM with the virtual DOM snapshot that was taken right before the update. By comparing the new virtual DOM with the pre-update version, React figures out exactly which virtual DOM objects have changed. Now React only updates those objects on the virtual DOM. This makes a big difference when it comes to speed. Coming to the next feature, performance. React uses virtual DOM. As discussed earlier, virtual DOM impacts the speed of the web applications. We also took an example of Instagram and learned how multiple components can affect the development time. They help improve performance drastically. The next feature is one-way data binding. This means information flows in only one direction. One-way data binding is specifically used when information is displayed and not updated. Remember that the components of React are functional in nature. That is, they receive information through arguments and pass information via their return values. The next important feature is extensions. React has many extensions that we can use to create full-fledged front-end applications. It provides server-side rendering, which means that the application is rendered on the server rather than in the browser. React Native, which is a React extension, is used for developing mobile applications. There are many other extensions that React provides for every scenario in web development. Now let's look at a few of them. React Native lets you build mobile applications using only JavaScript. A React Native app is a real mobile application and not just a web application running on your mobile devices. Thousands of applications like Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Skype use React Native. The next popular React extension is Flux. Flux is the application architecture that Facebook uses. Flux implements a unidirectional flow, which makes it easier to understand what actually is going on. Now let's see how it works. When we trigger an action, the dispatcher will get notified. The dispatcher receives actions and dispatches them to the stores. A store is what holds the data of an application. Stores will register with the application's dispatcher so that they can receive actions. Data from stores is displayed in views. Actions define the internal API of your application. They capture how anything might interact with your application. The last feature of React is debugging. React applications are easy to debug thanks to the large and active developer community. You can practically debug React codes within your browser. Now notice the small React extension icon at the top right corner. This developer tool allows the user to inspect the code and also easily debug it. Moving on, let's learn about the building blocks of React. Components, state, and props are the essential concepts that one should know before implementing React. They are the foundation on which React is built. Now, what exactly are React components? Components are the building blocks of any React application. React divides the user interface into multiple components, wherein each component defines how a particular element is viewed in the application. React components remain discrete and are processed independently. Another feature is reusability. Components can be reused multiple times across the application. This reduces the development time. Consider the following code snippet. A component is implemented as a JavaScript class having some state and a render method. State is the data which we want the component to render. The render method is responsible for how the UI looks and feels to the user. The next concept is state. State of a component is an object that holds some data. This data influences the output of a component. Every time the state of an object changes, the component is re-rendered onto the screen. Now let's see what props are. Props, or short for properties, allow us to pass arguments or data to components. Properties help make components more dynamic. It is important to define all the properties, their types, and their default value. Props are passed to components in a way similar to that of HTML tag attributes. Now consider the following code snippets. This shows exactly how properties are passed to components. Also, detailed illustrations on components, props, and state will be shown in the upcoming videos, so stay tuned for that. Moving on, let's go through some of the things that you should know before you can actually start working on React. You should be familiar with programming concepts like functions, objects, arrays, and classes. One should also have a basic knowledge of JavaScript and a familiarity with HTML. Don't worry if you feel like you're not good at them. Once you start working on them, you'll get a good hang of it. Finally, let's go through the impact of React on the IT industry and get insights into the salaries of React developers. Statistics show that React developers earn way more than other web developers. According to PayScale, the average salary for a React developer in the United States is a whopping $91,000. The average salary for a React developer in India is 7.25 lakhs per annum. Over the recent years, React has gained immense popularity and is being adopted by many companies. According to the data by Google Trends, React has had a better growth scale compared to other frameworks like Angular and Vue. Statistics show that front-end developers have wholeheartedly adopted this lightweight framework, foregoing other available options. If you are skilled and have a knack for front-end development, React can help you gain fantastic career opportunities. Lastly, talking about a few companies that use React devotionally, we have Facebook, Instagram, Netflix, Dropbox, WhatsApp, among others.
In this session, we will learn about the database and the need for a database. Then we will transition to SQL and see some basic SQL queries. After knowing what a SQL query is, we will see the features and applications of SQL query. And then we will have a hand on some of the basic SQL queries. So hey everyone, I'm Abhisar Ahuja from Simplilearn and welcome to this video on SQL Basics for Beginners. But before we begin, if you love watching tech videos, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to never miss an update. Let's start with database. A database is a vast collection of data that is stored and retrieved electronically from a system. In today's world, data has become the new oil, which has mandated companies and businesses to rely on an excellent database to store their vast amounts of data. Every millisecond, the tech giants are accumulating vast amounts of data that need to be stored. The database comes with features to update and effortlessly manipulate data, and not only that, these database provider companies ensure the data to be safe and secure. They also provide tools to extract useful information to help the companies make meaningful decisions. After knowing about the database, let's see how SQL communicates with the database to get desired results. SQL stands for Structured Query Language. The Structured Query Language is the standard language used by database operators and developers to carry out different operations, from manipulating, updating, and retrieving data from relational databases. Now let us see how we write a basic query. There's a customer table with columns, customer ID, customer name, age, gender, date of purchase, address, item, and price. And we need to extract the customer ID and customer name from this table. So we will write a query, select customer ID, customer name from customers, semicolon. When we will execute the query in MySQL Workbench, we will get the desired result, that is the output table, with customer ID and customer name. This is how we write a query to extract the information from the database. We'll see some more queries as the session proceeds. Now we'll see what the features of SQL are. SQL lets you access any information stored in a relational database. With SQL queries, data is extracted from the database in a very efficient way. The structured query language is compatible with all database systems from Oracle, IBM to Microsoft, and it doesn't require much coding to manage databases. Now we will see applications of SQL. SQL is used to create a database, define its structure, implement it, and lets you perform many functions. SQL is also used for maintaining an already existing database. SQL is a powerful language for entering data, modifying data, and extracting data in a database. SQL is extensively used as a client-server language to connect the front end with the back end, thus supporting the client-server architecture. SQL, when deployed as data control language (DCL), helps protect your database from unauthorized access. After knowing SQL with its features and applications, let's go through some basic queries in SQL. That is DDL, Data Definition Language, DML, Data Manipulation Language, DCL, Data Control Language, TCL, Transaction Control Language. DDL or Data Definition Language consists of the SQL commands that can be used to define the database schema. Let's see DDL commands. Create command is used to create the database or its objects like table, index, function, views, store procedure, and triggers. Drop is used to delete objects from the database. Truncate is used to remove all records from a table. Alter is used to alter the structure of the database. DML or Data Manipulation Language consists of the SQL commands that deals with the manipulation of data present in the database. Insert into command is used to insert data into a table. Update is used to update existing data within a table. Delete is used to delete records from a database table. Select. This command helps you to select the attribute based on the condition described by the where clause. TCL or transaction control language. These commands deals with the transaction within the database. Commit commands commit a transaction. Rollback command rollbacks a transaction in case of any error occurs. Save point. It sets a save point within a transaction. Set transaction. It specifies characteristics for the transaction. DCL or data control language. It consists of the commands such as grant and revoke, which mainly deals with the rights, permissions and other controls of the database system. Grant command gives user access privileges to database. Revoke. It withdraws user's access privileges given by using the grant command. Now we will have hands on some basic queries in MySQL Workbench.
If getting your learning started is half the battle, what if you could do that for free? Visit SkillUp by Simplilearn. Click on the link in the description to know more.
Now we will see some basic queries executing in MySQL Workbench. So we will start, and first query we will run will be use SYS, that is the database. This command is used to select the database in which we want to create or manipulate any data. Now we'll see another command that would create a table. Now we will add attributes to the customer table. That would be the columns. First would be the customer ID, and we will act at it as a primary key. The next attribute we would add would be customer name, customer underscore name, and its data type would be varchar. Next attribute we would add would be age with int data type. Next attribute would be gender with character data type. Next we will add as date of purchase with date data type. Now we'll add another attribute that would be address with data type varchar. Next we would add the attribute item, that would be the item purchased with data type varchar. Next would be the price. Okay, for price we will make it as float. And let's shift this to next line, and now we'll execute this command. Yeah, you can see that the table is created. Now we have to insert values into it. For that we'll write a command insert into customers values, and I have all the records written in the notepad, so I will copy these and paste it here. These are 20 records, like all the attributes, they are in the order, so we have written all the records in the order only. like customer ID, that would be 101, customer name, that would be Joseph, age, that would be 22, gender, male, date of purchase, this is the date of purchase, address, Pune, item, that is vegetable purchased, price, that is 80. So now we will run this command and all these records, they would be inserted into the table. And these are 20 commands, 20 records. You can see insert into customer values. The command has been executed and they have been inserted into the table. Now we'll see the table. For that we'll write the command select star from customers. Here you can see the table in the output grid. Okay, I will make sure you will see the whole table with all the 20 records. Yeah, you can see all the 20 records, they have been inserted. Now see another command, and for that we would just get the output as customer ID and customer name in the output grid. For that we'll write the command select customer ID, comma, customer name from customers, semicolon, and we'll run this command and we will get both the columns customer ID and customer name in our output grid. Now we'll see another command, that would be drop. The drop command just removes the component from the database. So we'll write drop table and table name, that would be customers, and semicolon, and we will execute this command. Now the table has been removed from the database. To verify whether the table has been removed from the database or not, we will run a command select star from customers, semicolon, and execute this command. And what we will get is select star from customers, error code, table says customers doesn't exist. The table has been removed from the database, so the drop command worked here. Now we don't have any table, that is the customer table has been dropped from the database, so we have to create that table again. So we'll go at the top. Okay, yeah, and we'll create the table again, and we'll insert all the records again into the table. Both the commands have run. Now we'll run this command to see whether the table has been created and the records have been inserted into the table or not. Both commands have worked. Now we'll see another command, that would be truncate. The truncate command just vanishes all the records from the table. Truncate table, table name, semicolon, and just run this command. The command has been executed. Now we'll see. Yeah, you can see that all the records from the table has been vanished. So the truncate command worked here. Now to carry other operations, we have to insert all the records again into the table. We'll do that. We'll again go upwards and run this command. insert into customers values and all the records, and we'll execute this command, and that command has been executed and all the records are again in the table. We'll run this command and check it. Yeah, you can see all the records are inserted into the table. Now we'll see another command, that would be alter. Alter command is used to update any record into the table. We'll see alter table name, that is customers. And now what we should do, okay, we'll drop the column age from the table. So we'll write command drop column age semicolon. Now we'll run this command. The command has been executed, and now we'll check whether the age column has been dropped or not. Select star from customers semicolon, and we will execute this command. Yeah, you can see the age column has been dropped off the table, so the alter command has been executed successfully. Okay, so now we'll see another thing, like if you want to comment something during the execution, you can do that. Just write two minus signs and the text. This would be the comment, and you can also use slash star and the text inside it, and star and slash. So this is also the comment section. You can write comment with this syntax or with this syntax. They both work. Now we'll see another command, that would be update. This is also used to manipulate data in the table, to update any record into the table. So we'll write update table name, that would be customers. And what we should update, okay, we will update a record. We will change the customer name and address, and we have the primary key as customer ID, so we will use that. So update customers, set customer name equal to James, comma, and address equal to Boston, where customer ID equal to 101. Okay, you can see here in the table 101 customer ID, the customer name is Joseph, and the address is Pune. We have updated command and we will execute it. Let's see, okay, we have an error here. Yeah, no, it's correct. We will execute this command. Yeah, the command has been executed successfully, and now we'll check the table with the command select star from customers semicolon. You can see the row has been updated. The customer name is James here, and the address is Boston. So the command has been executed successfully. Now we'll see another command, that would be delete. So delete command is used to delete any particular record or any particular row. So we'll write the command delete from customers where customer ID equal to 102 semicolon. So the second row, that is with customer ID 102, that would be deleted when we'll execute this command. Now we'll check into the table. Yeah, you can see the record has been deleted. Now we'll see distinct command that is used to return different values. So we will write command select distinct and the column name for which we want different values to be in the output grid. We would select address from customers and we will execute this command. These are the address, or these are the cities in the address which are different and which are unique, and we have get that through the distinct command. Now we will see minimum command. Minimum command is used to get the records or get the data that is minimum of all the data. So for that we will write the syntax select minimum like min. In bracket we will write the attribute name or the column name for which we want the data to be minimum as less price. This would be the attribute name from customers. So we will execute this command, and what we would see is that 60 would be the less price. Like the customer table, they have the column price, and in that we have all the prices, and from that the minimum price is 60 and we have get it at less price. Similarly, we have the maximum command. To get the maximum amount from the column, we will use the maximum command. Select max, in bracket we would write the attribute name as max price from customers, and we will execute this command, and what we get is 3400 is the maximum price from the price column. Now we'll see another command that would be count. Count command, it returns the number of rows according to the query. So we'll run the query and see like how it works. We'll write select count and the attribute name, that would be customer ID from customers semicolon, and when we'll run this command we will get 19 as a result. That is, it counted the number of customer IDs, that is 19, in the table. Now we'll see another command that would be average. So it just gets the average of the numbers, and how we do it, we'll write the query select avg and the attribute name for which we want the average from table name semicolon, and we'll execute this command and we'll get the average of the price from the customers table. Now if you want to add up all the prices from the customer table, you can use the command sum. So how we will execute that command? Select sum, in bracket we will write the attribute name, that would be price from customers semicolon, and we'll run this command and we'll get the sum of the prices from the customer table. Now we'll see where command. Where command is used to filter records. Let's see it through syntax. So we will write select star from customers where address we will where address equal to Pune semicolon, and then we will run this command, and this is the table where we have get the records with address as Pune. So this is the functioning of where command. Now we'll see group by command, that is used to just group the number of rows that have the same values. We will see it through the syntax. Like we will write select count, attribute name, that would be customer ID, comma, address from table name, and group by accordingly with address. Here the comma will not come. Yeah, this is the command. Select count customer ID, comma, address from customers, group by address. When we will execute this command, yeah, we will get this table. That would be, these are the different addresses and these are the number of times, number of persons who live in this address with the count with respect to customer IDs. Now we'll see having close with the help of an example only. Select count, attribute name, that will be customer ID, comma, address from table name, that will be customers, group by address, having count customer ID greater than 3 we have 4 4 3 to 3 only, semicolon, and then we will execute this command, and you can see the output we have got through this command, that is group by command, was this. And when we have added having close, having count customer ID greater than 3, we just got the customer ID count with 4. Now we'll see another command, that is order by. Select star from table name, that is customers, and we will order this output by address, semicolon. We have got the output with respect to the address. The address has been assigned alphabetically here.
We will learn how to create a table in SQL. But before we begin, let me tell you guys that we have daily updates on multiple technologies. If you're a tech geek in a continuous hunt for latest technological trends, then consider getting subscribed to our YouTube channel and don't forget to hit that bell icon to never miss an update from Simplilearn. Now without further ado, let's try to get started with our agenda. How to create a table in SQL. Now, let's quickly look at the syntax we need to create a table in SQL. So we will be using the keyword create to let the SQL know that we're trying to create an element which can be a table or database. Followed by that, we will be using the table keyword to explain the SQL that we're trying to create a table here. Followed by that, a customized table name. Then inside that, we will be starting with the parameters, which can be the elements or columns which are present in your table. Column 1 or parameter 1, its data type and constraint. So what is a constraint? We will be understanding about the data type and constraint when we're in the practical mode. Let's quickly try to understand the syntax over here. So these are the things: create keyword, table name, which is a customized or user-defined name for the table. Then the parameters involved in the table, that is the columns, column 1, 2, 3, data type and constraint. Followed by that, close the bracket and use the semicolon to explain SQL that it is the end of the code. Now let's get back to the SQL workbench. So we logged into the SQL workbench. So now we have logged into the SQL workbench. Now previously we had created a database, that is Simplilearn database. Now we will try to create the table in the same database. Now we will be using the create keyword, table, now table name, which can be anything. Let's try to create a student database or employee database. You can see that I'm using capitals for keywords and smalls for the user-defined ones, just to make it clear for the reader to understand what is what. If it is in capital, it is a keyword. If it is in small, it is a user-defined name. Now, emp id, which is an integer type, and then the constraint, not null. So remember the data type and constraints that we discussed earlier. So this is it. So you're trying to tell the SQL that the ID, what you're creating, is of integer data type, and since this can be a primary keyword, it should not be null, right? Now the next one, employee name, which can be character data type. So let's keep it as char or character, and let's give the size as 150. Now the next one. Okay, I forgot to give the constraint. Default. Okay, let's not keep it as default null. It cannot be null as well. Then comes the address, which can again be character, and let's give it as 500 as the size, and followed by that it can be default. Here we are trying to tell SQL that it is okay to keep the employee address column as null. It can be blank. Again, it's your wish. If you don't want the address column to be empty, you can keep it as not null, and if it's all right for you to keep it as null, then you can provide it as default null. Right, so these are the parameters, their data types, and the constraints. Right, now we will understand them a little more detail in the theoretical section, now followed by the columns. The last one is to dedicate or create a primary key. Let SQL know which is a primary key. So primary key is very important for every database or table, and I'll explain you that in the theoretical section again. Now, which is the primary key? The ID, what we created for employees, that is emp ID, is the primary key. This particular primary key will be really important when we are trying to work with two different tables with one single column in common between both the tables, right? So with that, we have created the code for creating a new table in a database. Now let's quickly try to execute it. So there is a small error. Let's try to resolve it. Yes, so the small error that we created is we did not try to select a database, right? Before creating a table, you need to select the database or explain SQL which database is supposed to be used. Now for that, we have to use the use keyword and a database name, that is Simplilearn DB, semicolon. Now, when you run this particular code, SQL will understand we need to use the Simplilearn DB, and then it will get access to that particular DB. Then it will read this particular code and try to create a new table. Let's quickly run it. And there you go. Let's try to eliminate this code for a while. Run this. Now we are using the Simplilearn DB. Eliminate this code. Now run this particular code once again, and okay, so instead of character we can use varchar and run it. Since character limit was 255 and we gave 500, instead of character, if we provide varchar, we can provide the maximum limit. So now the table is successfully created here. So that's how you can create a new table in SQL.
We will learn about joins in SQL. Joins are really important when you have to deal with data that is present on multiple tables. I'll help you understand the basics of joins and make you learn the different types of joins with hands-on demonstrations on MySQL Workbench. So let's get started with what are joins in SQL. SQL join statement or command is often used to fetch data present in multiple tables. SQL joins are used to combine rows of data from two or more tables based on a common field or column between them. Now consider this example where we have two tables, an orders table and a customers table. Now the order table has information about the order ID, which is unique here. We have the order date, that is when the order was placed. Then we have the shipped date. This has information about the date on which the order was shipped. Then we have the product name, which basically is the names of different products. We have the status of delivery, whether the product was delivered or not, or whether it was cancelled. Then we have the quantity, which means the number of products that were ordered. And finally we have the price of each product. Similarly, we have another table called customers, and this customer table has information about the order ID, which is the foreign key here. Then we have the customer ID, which is the primary key for this table. We also have the phone number, customer name and address of the customers. Now suppose you want to find the phone numbers of customers who have ordered a laptop. Now to solve this problem, we need to join both the tables. The reason being, the phone numbers are present in the customers table, as you can see here, and laptop, which is the product name, is present in the orders table, which you can see it here. So using a join statement, you can find the phone numbers of customers who have ordered a laptop. Now let's see another problem where you need to find the customer names who have ordered a product in the last 30 days. In this case, we want the customer name present in the customers table and the last 30 days order information, which you can get from the order date column that is present in the orders table. Okay, now let's discuss the different types of joins one by one. So first we have an inner join. So the SQL inner join statement returns all the rows from multiple tables as long as the conditions are met. From the diagram above, you can see that there are two tables, A and B. A is the left table and B is the right table. The orange portion represents the output of an inner join, which means an inner join returns the common records from both the tables. Now you can see the syntax here. So we have the select command and then we give the list of columns from table A, which you can see here is the left table, followed by the inner join keyword and then the name of the table, that is B, on a common key column from both the tables A and B. Now let me take you to the MySQL workbench and show you how inner join works in reality. So here I'll type MySQL. You can see I have got MySQL workbench 8.0 version installed. I'll click on it. So it will take some time to open. Okay, I'll click on this local instance and here I'll give my password. Okay, so this is how an SQL editor on MySQL workbench looks like. So first of all, let me go ahead and create a new database. So I'll write create database. This is going to be my command, followed by the name of the database, that is going to be SQL_joins. If I give a semicolon and hit Ctrl Enter, this will create a new database. You can see here one row affected. Now you can check whether the database was created or not using show databases command. If I run it, here you can see I have SQL joins database created. Now I'll use this database, so I'll write use SQL_joins. Okay, now to understand inner join, consider that there is a college, and in every college you have different teams for different sports such as cricket, football, basketball and others. So let's create two tables, cricket and football. So I'll write create table and my table name is going to be cricket. Next, I'm going to create two columns in this table. The first column is going to be cricket ID. Then I'm going to give the data type as int and use the auto increment operator. I'm using auto increment because my cricket ID is going to be my primary key. Then I'm going to give the name of the students who are part of the cricket team, and for this I'll use varchar data type and give the length as 30. I'll give another comma and I'll assign my cricket ID as primary key. Within brackets I'll give cricket underscore ID. Cricket ID is nothing but a unique identifier for each of the players, like you have roll numbers in college. Okay, let me just run it. Alright, so we have successfully created our cricket table. Similarly, let me just copy this and I'll paste it here. I'll create another table called football. This will have the information of all the students who are part of the football team, and instead of cricket I am going to give this as football ID. Alright, and the name column will have the names of the students. I'll change my primary key to football ID. Alright, let me run this. Okay, so now we have also created our football table. The next step is to insert a few player names into both the tables. So I'll write my insert into command. First, let's load some data to our cricket table. So I'll write cricket and I'll give my name column followed by values, and here I'll give some names such as, let's say, Stuart. I'll give another comma. The next player I'll choose is, let's say, Michael. Similarly, I'll add a few more. Let's say we have Johnson. The fourth player I'll take is, let's say, Hayden. And finally we have, let's say, Fleming. Okay, now I'll give a semicolon and run this. Okay, so let me just check if all the values were inserted properly. For this I'll use select star from table, that is cricket. If I run it, you can see I have created a table and have successfully inserted 5 rows of information. Now similarly, let's insert a few student names for our football table. So I'll change this to football, and obviously there would be students who will be part of both cricket and football team. So I'll keep a few repeated names. Let's say Stuart, Johnson, and let's say Hayden are part of both cricket and football team. Then we have, let's say, Langer, and let's say we have another player in the football team, that is Aston. I'll just run it. Okay, you can see there are no errors. So we have successfully inserted values to our football team as well. Let me just recheck it. I'll write select star from football. Alright, so we have 5 players in the football team as well. Okay, now the question is, suppose you want to find the students that are part of both the cricket and football team. In this case you can use an inner join. So let me show you how to do it. So I'll write select star from cricket, as I'm using an alias name as C, which stands for cricket. Then I'm going to write inner join. My next table is going to be football as F, which is an alias name for the football table. Then I'm going to use the on command or operator, and then I'll give the common key, that is name here. So C dot name is equal to F dot name. So based on this name column from both the table, my inner join operation will be performed. So let's just run it. There you go. So Stuart, Johnson and Hayden are the only 3 students who are part of both the teams. Alright. Now you can also individually select each of the columns from both the tables. So let's say I write select c dot cricket underscore id, comma c dot name, comma f dot football underscore id, comma f dot name. From, I'll write cricket as C, inner join football as F on C dot name is equal to F dot name. Now if I run this, you see we get the same output here as well. Alright. Now let's explore another example to learn more about inner joins. So we have a database called classic models. Let me first use classic models. I'll run this. Okay. Now let me just show the different tables that are part of classic tables. Alright. So here you can see there are tables like customers, there's employees, office, there's office details, orders, payments, products and product lines as well. Alright. So let me use my select statement to show what are the columns present in the products table. Okay. So this product table has information about different product names. You have the product code. Now this product code is unique here. We also have the product vendor, a little description about the product. Then we have the quantity in stock, buying price and MSRP. Let's see what we have in product lines. If I run it, you see here we have the product line, which is the primary key for this table. Then we have the textual description for each of the products. This is basically some sort of an advertisement. Alright. Now suppose you want to find the product code, the product name and the text description for each of the products. You can join the products and product lines table. So let me show you how to do it. I'll write my select statement and choose my columns as product code. Then we have product name, and let's say I want the text description. So I'll write this column name. Okay. Then I'll use from my first table, that is products, inner join product lines. I can use using the common key column, that is product line. Close the bracket, I'll give a semicolon, and if I run it, there you go. So you can see the different product codes. Then we have the different product names and the textual description for each of the products. So this we did by joining the products table and the product lines table. Alright. Now suppose you want to find the revenue generated from each product order and the status of the product. To do this task, we need to join three tables, that is orders, order details and products. So first let me show you what are the columns we have in these three tables. We have obviously seen for the products table. Now let me show you for orders and order details table. So I'll write select star from orders. If I run it, you can see it has information about the order number, the date on which the order was placed. We also have the shipment date. We also have the status column, which has information regarding whether the order was shipped or cancelled. Then we have some comments column. We also have the customer number who ordered this particular product. Similarly, let's check what we have under order details. So I'll write select star from order details. If I run it, You can see it has the order number, the product code, quantity of each product, we have the price of each product, then we have the order line number. Okay, so using the product orders and order details, let's perform an inner join. So I'll write select O dot order number, comma O dot status, comma I need the product name which I'll take from the products table, so I'll write P dot product name. Now here O, P are all alias name for the tables, orders, products, and I'll use OD for order details, comma since we want to find the revenue, we actually need to find the product of quantity ordered into price of each product. So I'll use a sum function, and inside the sum function I'll give quantity ordered multiplied by the price of each item. I'll use an alias as revenue. Then I'll use my from clause, from orders as O, inner join order details as I'll use an alias name as OD, on I'll write O dot order number is equal to OD dot order number. I'll use another inner join, and this time we'll join the products table. So I'll write inner join products as P on P dot product code is equal to OD dot product code. And finally I'll use the group by clause and group it by order number. Alright, let me run this. Okay, there's some mistake here, we need to debug this. It says you have an error in your SQL syntax, check the manual. Alright, okay, I think the name of the tables is actually orders and not order. Alright, now let's run it. Okay, there's still some error. It says classic models dot product doesn't exist. So again, the product name is, the table name is products and not product. So let's run it again. Alright, there you go. So we have the order number, the status, the product name, and the revenue. This we got it using inner join from 3 different tables.
If getting your learning started is half the battle, what if you could do that for free? Visit SkillUp by Simplilearn. Click on the link in the description to know more.
Now talking about left joins, the SQL left join statement returns all the rows from the left table and the matching rows from the right table. So if you see this diagram, you can see we have all the rows from the left table, that is A, and only the matching rows from the right table, that is B. So you can see this overlapped region, and the syntax for SQL left join is something like this. So you have the select statement and then you give the list of columns from table A, which is your left table, then you use the left join keyword followed by the next table, that is table B, on the common key column. So you write A dot key is equal to B dot key. Okay, now in our classic models database we have 2 tables, customers and orders. So if you want to find the customer name and their order ID, you can use these 2 tables. So first let me show you the columns that are present in customers and orders. I think orders we have already seen. Let me first show you what's there in the customers table. Okay, so you can see we have the customer number, the name of the customer, then we have the contact last name, the contact first name, we have the phone number, then there's an address column. There are 2 address columns actually. We have the city name, the state, and we have other information as well. And similarly we have our orders table. So I'll write select start from orders. So I'll write select star from orders. If I run this, you can see these are the information available in the orders table. Okay, so let's perform a left join where we want to find the customer name and their order IDs. So I'll write select c dot customer name, or let's say first we'll choose the customer number, comma, then I want the customer name, so I'll write c dot customer name. Then we have the order number column which is present in the orders table, and let's say I also want to see the status. Then I'll give my left table, that is customers as C, left join, orders as O on C dot customer number equal to O dot customer number. Let's run it. Okay, again there is some problem. Alright, so the table name is customers. Let's run it. So there's another mistake here. This is customer number, so B is missing. Cool. Let me run it. Alright, so here you can see we have the information regarding the customer number, then the respective customer names, we have the order number and the status of the shipment. So if I scroll down, you'll notice one thing, there are a few rows you can see which have null values. This means for customer number 125 and for this particular customer name there were no orders. And similarly if I scroll down, you will find a few more null values. You can see here there are two null values here. For customer number 168 and 169 there were no orders available. Alright, now to check those customers who haven't placed any orders, you can use the null operator. So what I'll do is here I'll just continue with this. I'll use a where clause and write where order number is null. Now let me run this. Okay, so here you can see there are 24 customers from the table that don't have any orders in their names. Okay, now talking about right joins. So SQL right join statement returns all the rows from the right table and only matching rows from the left table. So here you can see we have our left table as A and the right table as B. So the right join will return all the rows from the right table and only the matching rows from the left table. Now talking about the syntax. So here you can see we have the select statement. Followed by the select statement, you will have the list of columns that you want to choose. From table A, right join table B on the common key column from both the tables. Alright. Now to show how right join works, I'll be using two tables, that is customers and employees. So let's see the rows of data that are present in the customer table first. So I'll write select star from customers. Let's run it. So here you have the customer number, the customer name, then we have the phone number, the address of the customers. You also have the country to which the customer belongs to, the postal code, and the credit limit as well. Similarly, let's see for the employees table. Here I'll change customers to employees. Let's run it. Okay, so we have the employee number, the last name, the first name, we have the extension, the email ID, the job title, and also reports to here means the manager. Okay, so based on these two tables, we'll find the customer name, the phone number of the customer, and the email address of the employee, and join both the tables, that is customers and employees. So let me show you the command. So I'll write select c dot customer name, comma, then we have c dot phone. I'll give a space here. Next, I want the employee number from the employee table. So I'll write e dot employee number, comma, e dot email from customers as C, right join employees as E on e dot, my common key column is employee number here, so I'll write e dot employee number is equal to C dot, we have sales representatives employee number, and I'm also going to order it by the employee number column. Okay, so you can see I have my customer name selected from the customers table, the phone number of the customer, then we have the employee number and the email address. So let me run it. Okay, there's some problem. Alright, so the table name is customers actually. Let's run it once again. There you go. So you can see here we have all the values selected from our right table, which is the employees table. You can see right join employees, which means your employees table is to the right, and then we have the customer name and phone numbers of the customers from the customer table, which is actually your left table. So you have a few employee numbers such as 1002, there's 1056, which don't have any customer name or phone numbers. Okay, so there's another popular join which is very widely used in SQL, known as self joins. So self joins are used to join a table to itself. So in our database we have a table called employees. Let me show you the table first. Alright, so here you can see we have the employee number, the last name, the first name of the employee, we have the email ID, and here if you see we have a column called reports to. Now this you can think of as the manager column. So the way to read is, for example, for employee number 1056, the manager is 1002. So if you check for 1002, we have Dane Murphy. Then if I scroll down, let's say for employee number 1102, for employee number 1102, the manager is 1056. So here you can see who is at 1056. You have Mary Patterson. Similarly, if I scroll down, let's say for employee number 1188, we have the manager as 1143. Now if I check the table at 1143, we have Anthony Bow. So the employee Julie Firelli reports to Anthony Bow. Alright, now suppose you want to know who is the reporting manager for each employee. So for that you can use a self join. So let me show you how to join this employees table. I'll write select, and then I'm going to use a function called concat. Within brackets I'll start with my alias name, that is m dot, then I'll write last name. I'm going to concat last name followed by a comma, then I'll have my first name. I'll close this bracket, and then I'm going to give my alias name, let's say manager, comma, next I'm going to concat the same last name and first name, and this time I'm going to use a separate alias, let's say E, which stands for employee. So I'll write E dot last name, comma, and within single quotes I'll give my comma, and then I'll write E dot first name. I'll close this bracket. I'll give an alias as, let's say, employee. From, I'll write employees as E, inner join employees as M on M dot, I'll use my common key column as employee number, so I'll write M dot employee number is equal to E dot, here I'm going to use the reports to column, and then I'll order it by, let's say, manager. Okay, now let's run this. There you go. So you have your two columns as manager and employee. So for employee Louis Bonder, the manager is Gerard Bonder. Similarly, if I scroll down, you have there are multiple employees reporting to this particular manager. Similarly, we have our manager as Anthony Bow, and we have different employees who are reporting to this particular manager, and so on. Alright, now moving ahead. Now let's see what a full join is. So SQL full outer join statement returns all the rows when there is a match in either left or right table. Now you must remember that MySQL Workbench does not support full outer join by default, but there's a way to do it. So by default, this is how the syntax of full outer join looks like. Now this statement will work on other SQL databases like Microsoft SQL Server, but it won't work on MySQL Workbench. I'll show you the right way of using full outer join on MySQL Workbench. So to show full outer join, I'm going to first use a left join, and then we'll also use a right join, and finally we'll use a union operator. So the union operator is used to combine the result set of two or more select statements. So first of all, let me write C dot customer name. So for this example, I'm using the customer table and the order table, comma O dot order number. So I just want to know the customer name and the order number related to the customer. From, I have customers as C, left join, I'll write orders as O on C dot customer number is equal to O dot customer number. Let me just copy this, and after this I am going to use my union operator. So union operator is used to merge results from two or more tables. So basically this performs a vertical join. And next I am going to use my right join operation. So here instead of left join, I'll write right. Rest all looks fine. Let me just run it. There you go. So we have successfully run our full outer join operation. You can see we have the different customer names and the order that each customer had placed. Alright, so that brings us to the end of our demo session. So let me just run through whatever we did in this session. So first we created a database called SQL joins. Then we created two tables like cricket and football. Then we had inserted a few rows to each of these tables. Then we used this table to learn about inner join. Next, we used a database called classic models. It had multiple tables, so we explored all of these tables like products, there was product lines, orders, customers and employees, and learned how to use inner join, left join, self join, right join, as well as full outer join.
Do you know that Java, the object-oriented language, follows write once, run anywhere principle, which makes it highly portable and platform independent. Java code runs on any platform with the help of Java Virtual Machine. Nowadays, Java is used for various applications including web development, mobile apps, and enterprise software. This created a huge need of Java experts in the industry. According to Glassdoor, the average annual salary of a Java developer in United States is $94,000. If someone holds a senior Java developer position, their average yearly salary increases to $114,000. The upper limit of this salary range reaches to $180,000 annually. Hope this excites you to explore more in the world of Java.
Let's get started with the first topic of this series, which is about Introduction to Java.
So, when we talk about Java, it is one of the most popular programming language out there, and it was created way back in 1991, but it was publicly released only in 1995. It was developed by one of the famous developers of our generation, who is James Gosling at Sun Microsystems, and then later Java was acquired by Oracle, and today Oracle owns Java. Java is very simple and easy to use, and we will look at different aspects of how it is easy and simple to use. It's a write once, run anywhere type of programming language. Again, we will look at details into this particular concept as well. And when we talk about the usage of Java, you can use it to build web applications, mobile applications, desktop applications, even command line applications. And at the same time, you can also use it to build complex applications like gaming applications, building microservices, or building distributed computing, etc. Let's talk about the features of Java. So one of the most prominent features of Java is that it's an object-oriented programming language, which means that everything which happens in Java happens around objects. Objects enable the execution of the program. Objects talk to each other to exchange data and messages. We will look at the concept of objects in details in the upcoming lectures. It's a platform-independent language, which means that, again, going back to the previous point of write once, run anywhere, it basically enables the program to be run on any platform once compiled. So once you have prepared your program and you have compiled your program, then your compiled program can be run on any platform. It is a strong type checking language, which means that it will force you to respect the contracts of the variables to the data types. For example, if you have created a collection which should accept strings, then you can only insert strings in that collection, and it will not allow you to add a number or an integer into that collection. So it's a strongly type checking language. So when you run your program, it's a two-step process in Java. You compile the program and then you execute the program, which we also call as interpretation. So you have a Java compiler and you have a Java interpreter. You first compile your program and then you run the program using the help of Java interpreter. Java also provides automatic garbage collection. It's a really important feature. And if you talk about the languages prior to Java, like C or C++, they did not offer this capability. And this capability made Java really popular because it could automatically find the unused objects and variables and remove them from the memory to free up memory space for the program execution. It also provides multi-threading support, which means that you can build multi-threading applications like a gaming application. If you take the example of a racing game, for example, so there can be one thread which is monitoring your leaderboard score. There can be another thread which is displaying the speed of the car. There can be another thread which is displaying the graphic. There can be another thread which is displaying the sound. So you see all of these threads are working parallelly, and Java provides the support to create such applications using the multi-threading capability it has. Java is secure by default because there are no pointers in Java, so there are no possibilities of having any memory leaks or any reference leaks from the application. Again, if you take the example of programming languages like C or C++, you had the concept of pointers, and we witnessed a lot of scenarios and a lot of incidents where there was a memory leakage happening in the production application, which was really a bad experience for the organizations. So Java removed the concept of pointers totally from its programming language. It's also a very robust language because it provides a really great exception handling framework out of the box, which developers can use and implement to build really resilient applications. So now let us understand how a Java program is run. So at first you basically write your Java program and you store your Java program into a .java file. Then you compile your Java file with the help of the Java compiler. Once the program is compiled, the compiler is going to generate another file, which is a .class file. And this .class file is basically the compiled file, or also known as the bytecode file. So this bytecode or the .class file code can be run on any platform, be it a Linux platform or a Windows platform or a macOS platform or any other platform. To give you some more context, the first two steps where you write your Java program and you compile your Java program can be run on any machine. Let's take the example that you ran these two steps on a Windows machine. So you write your program and you compile your program on a Windows machine, which generated a .class file. Then you transported this .class file to a Linux machine and it also worked there. You transported your .class file to a macOS machine and it worked there as well. And that's what brings the platform independence concept of Java, that you can write the program once on any platform, and once you have the bytecode available, then you can run this program on any other platform of your choice. Okay, so that was about how the Java program execution works and how the platform independence is actually achieved. Now let us spend some time to understand the anatomy of Java. So once you download Java and install Java on your local machine, you will hear the term JDK. Actually, we'll see that in the next lecture, that when you try to download the Java, it will say JDK download. JDK stands for Java Development Kit. So the Java Development Kit is the installation of the Java. This is what you're going to install on your machine. Once the JDK or Java Development Kit has been installed, the JDK will provide a lot of other components as well, like Java Runtime Environment or JRE, Java Virtual Machine or JVM, some class libraries, and some other supporting libraries. So let us understand what happens when your program is run and how these components work together to make sure that your program runs as expected. Let's start from here. So you install JDK or the Java Development Kit, you write your program, and then you compile your program with the help of Java compiler, which is provided by JDK. Once the program is compiled, your .class file will be generated, and then you can run that .class file using JRE. In fact, if you just run your program on your local machine, JRE will automatically kick in and run your .class file. So the Java Runtime Environment or JRE runs your .class file with the help of these three components. Let's talk about first component, which is Java Virtual Machine or JVM. So the Java Virtual Machine is actually the virtual environment inside which your program runs. This is the real main environment inside your .class file is running. So when this program is running, how does it achieve this environment? For achieving this virtual machine environment, it would need some runtime libraries, and that is provided by these class libraries. For example, there would be a runtime jar or rt.jar as a shorthand, which will be supplied to the program at the runtime to make sure that the program runs smoothly. Then there are other supporting libraries as well, which your program may be using. For example, if this .class file is, let's say, a calculator program, then it might be using a square root function from java.math package. So how does the java.math package get supplied at runtime? It would be supplied by the other supporting libraries which are present inside JRE. So JRE will make sure that your program runs inside the Java virtual machine. It gets the required runtime libraries, and it also gets the libraries which are referred in your program at runtime. And this all together will make sure that your program is running. So you can see JDK basically provides JRE automatically and JVM automatically, but you can also install JRE separately. If you talk about that use case where you compile your program on a Windows machine using JDK, and then you exported your .class file to another machine, and there you just install the JRE. You don't install JDK there, you just install the runtime environment, and you can run the .class file just using the runtime environment. And that brings us to the end of this lecture.
Let's get started with installing Java. We will basically look at how we can install Java on a Windows machine. So the first step to install Java is to download it from the official Oracle website. So for that, let's open a web browser and let's type JDK Java download. and hit enter. Then you need to find the link which says oracle.com, because like we discussed in the previous lecture, Java is owned by Oracle. So we need to download it from the official website only. So we can click on this link which says Java SE downloads. It will bring us to the downloads page, and we will see different versions of Java. You can see the Java SE 15, you can see Java SE 14, you can also see Java SE 11 and all the previous versions. Another thing which you will notice that it says LTS here, which means long-term support. Basically, long-term support are the releases for which Oracle is going to provide long-term security patches and updates. For the non-LTS releases, Java will not provide long-term support and long-term patch fixes and long-term security fixes. So it's a good idea to analyze and evaluate on which version you want to develop your applications on. For this demo, I think it is fine. We can go with the non-LTS version. And even for your customer-facing applications, you can start with the non-LTS version and then upgrade to the latest LTS version whenever that is available. So for this demo, we can download Java SE 15, and you can also do the same on your machine. It will work exactly the same way as an LTS works. So you can click on the JDK download option here. Let's click on that. It is going to bring up the downloads detail page, and you can see there are multiple options given here in terms of what platform you want to install Java on, whether it is a Linux platform or it is a Mac OS machine or it is a Windows platform. So like I said in the beginning of the demo, that today we are going to see how we can install this on a Windows machine. So I'm going to download the Windows x64 installer here. If you are working on a Linux machine or a Mac OS machine, you can download those respective installers as well. So you can see the exe here. So let's click on this. Once we click on this, we'll get this pop-up, which will ask us to accept the Oracle Technology Network License Agreement. So we can hit this checkbox and click on Download JDK 15. And this shall start the download, and you will see some exe getting downloaded in your download box here. But as the download is going to take some time, and I'm not going to wait for that, and that's the reason I have already downloaded the JDK 15 for this particular demo, and that JDK is sitting here on my desktop, which I've downloaded prior to this demo. So we'll just run this particular exe, which is exactly the same exe as the one which is being downloaded. So let us double click on this. It will ask you for this pop-up in some cases, so you can just hit yes. Basically, it is asking whether you trust this exe or not. But as we downloaded this from official Oracle website, then we can trust this particular exe. So I will hit yes. And now the installer is going to unpack, and you might get a screen like this, which will be an installation wizard for the Java SE Development Kit 15. Another thing which, before I proceed, I just wanted to highlight that as well, that you might have noticed the word JDK here. It's exactly the same term which we covered in the last lecture, that when you install Java, you basically install the JDK, which is the Java Development Kit. And this is also visible here when it says Java SE Development Kit 15. So let's hit next. Then on this particular page, you have the option to change the installation location of Java if you want to. By default, it is going to install in C program files /java/jdk15. But if you want to change the location and you want to install Java to a particular custom location of your choice, that is also possible. You just hit change here, and then you can choose whatever directory or folder or place you want to install this Java on, and you can basically select the appropriate location. For this particular case, I don't want to change that. I'm happy with the default location, which is available here. So I'm just going to proceed with this particular location here. So I will just hit next, and then Java is going to install, and it's very fast installation. It generally takes few seconds, as you will see in this demo. Basically, it is going to unpack all the libraries and all the runtime libraries and all the class path libraries which we discussed in the previous lecture, and put all that into the location which we specified to install Java. It will also set up the rest of the prerequisites which are required to run Java successfully. So looks like the Java has been successfully installed, as is visible in this message. And there's also a next step if you want to access the tutorials or the API documentations, the developer guides, the release notes, etc. I don't want to do that, so I will just hit close here. And now if we want to just verify if Java is installed or not, then we can verify that from the command line prompt. Let me just exit this. And let's go to the command prompt to verify to see if Java has been successfully installed. So to do that, we'll just open the search bar and we'll type cmd. It is going to show us this command prompt here. We'll click on this and it will open the command prompt for you like it has opened for me. And there you just need to type Java-version and you hit enter. If you get a message like this, it means Java has been successfully installed. If you get a message saying that Java is not recognized as a command, it means that Java is still not successfully installed and something has gone wrong in your installation. And in that case, you might want to restart. You might want to go back and reinstall this Java exe again. So in this case, it looks like it has been successfully installed. And we can also get some interesting information from here. We can see which version of Java has been installed. It says Java version 15. We can also see that the JRE is also installed. The Java SE runtime environment or JRE is also installed. And we can also see that the JVM is also installed, which is Java Hotspot Server VM. VM means the virtual machine. So if I connect this back to the previous lecture, we can see that the Java JDK basically installed the JRE as well as the JVM as well. And the complete Java package has been successfully installed. Now we are ready to use Java, a Java program and run Java programs on this machine. And at this step, I would like to conclude this lecture. In the next session, we will be discussing how we can install Eclipse, because that would be the natural next step for any Java developer, that they want to install Java and then they want to install Eclipse and start working. Let's get started with installing Eclipse on a Windows machine. So the first thing which we need to do is to download Eclipse. So for that, I'm just going to open my web browser and type Eclipse download, press enter. And then you need to find the link which says eclipse.org/downloads, which is the first link in my search results. You can also see it says Eclipse downloads, the Eclipse Foundation. And Eclipse Foundation is the organization which maintains the Eclipse installers. So we can click on this. Once we click on this, we will be redirected onto the Eclipse downloads page. And there again, you will see a bunch of options. You will see the default option highlighted, which would be the Eclipse installer for JRE, for Mac OS, Windows, and Linux. And then you have some other tool platforms option as well, like Eclipse G or Orion, which you might want to use for advanced cases. But for running Java applications, all you need is an Eclipse installer, which is coming from here. So based on your machine, Eclipse will automatically detect whether you want a 64-bit installer or a 32-bit installer. And you can just click on this particular link, which says download 64-bit here. So I'm just going to hit download 64-bit. It is going to open this particular screen where, based on your current location, Eclipse will suggest the nearest possible distribution mirror. Distribution mirror is basically a server which is present somewhere in this world, which contains this Eclipse installer exe. And Eclipse has created these servers all across the globes. These servers are basically called the mirrors. And based on your current location, which will be taken from your ISP, from the internet IP address from which you are accessing this particular website. So based on your ISP location, it is going to suggest you the nearest possible mirror location so that your download is the fastest. So in my case, the nearest location is Netherlands here, as you can see, and I get a download option. This is the file name, which says Eclipse installer JRE Windows 64.exe. And if you think that this mirror doesn't make sense, just click on this option, select another mirror, and then you can choose another mirror. But generally it works really well. It works based on your IP location, and it's generally the download speed is pretty good based on the suggested mirror. So I'm not going to change the mirror location because I think this works fine for me. So, and I'm just going to click on this particular button, which is going to start the download of the Eclipse installer. So now I have hit the download button, and you can see right now an exe has begun to download. It is going to again take some time, and I have already downloaded this particular exe just to save us some time, and I'm going to use that exe to showcase how we can install it. Another thing just wanted to highlight is that Eclipse is an open source organization. It works on donations. So if you feel generous about it and if you feel that Eclipse is doing really great work, you can also donate to it, which will show here. So we can move to the next step, which is about installing. So you can see here, I have an installer here, an exe file basically, which I have pre-downloaded to showcase this demo. I'm just going to double click on this and it is going to unpack the installer. You can see this, this icon will be presented to you, which says Eclipse installer by Oomph. Oomph is basically the provider for this particular installer who manages the installer. And based on your computer's capacity and speed, it is going to take few seconds. And in the background, what it is doing is basically it is unpacking this installer and creating all the installation files which it needs to successfully install it on your computer. Once that is done, you will be presented with this kind of screen, and you will see that Eclipse provides multiple different kind of IDEs for different set of developer communities. You will see an option which says Eclipse IDE for Java developers. You will also see Eclipse IDE for enterprise Java developers. You will see the IDE for C++ and C developers, web and JavaScript, PHP, Eclipse committers who basically contribute to the Eclipse organization, or RCP, RAP, tester, scientific computing. There are tons of IDEs which Eclipse maintains. For our use case throughout this series, I think we will be focusing on this particular IDE, which says Eclipse IDE for enterprise Java developers. You can also use this particular IDE, but this is a very bare bone IDE with very limited set of integrations. Like it says, it includes a Java IDE, a Git client, an XML editor, a Maven plugin, and a Gradle plugin. But if you look at the enterprise, you will get more integrations. You can use this particular IDE to work on whatever you work here. So these all will work here. But in addition, you can also use this IDE to build a web application, build a web service, build a JPA application, data tools, Java server pages, faces, etc. So this is more advanced, I would say. And we will go with this particular IDE. And you can also choose this IDE if you want to, but for this demo, we are going to choose this one. I will click on this. Then it is going to show me which virtual machine it is going to use. So if you remember in the previous lecture, we installed Java 15. It has automatically detected that location by reading my C program files folder, and it has automatically taken that. If you have multiple JDK installations on your machine, you can click on this icon and change a different Java virtual machine. I'm going to leave it as is. Again, the installation folder is also by default taken to your C users username /eclipse /the JEE version number. And again, if you want to change this, you can also change a different installation folder. I'm going to leave everything as default. It will automatically create a start menu entry and a desktop shortcut. And now I hit install. It might come ask you for a user agreement. So you can hit accept now. And now it has begun the installation. The installation generally takes a bit of time to complete in some cases. So again, it depends upon your computer's capacity and speed. Basically, if it's a good robust machine with good capacity, the installation might be very fast, as you can see in my computer. And if you have a computer which is not very strong on configurations, you can just be patient and wait for some time, and the installation will be finished. Once the installation is finished, you will see this launch option here. You will also have an option to keep an installer if you want to, show the README file. But I think the main option here, which we are going to use, is the launch option.
Java is a programming language that is widely used for building enterprise-grade software and web applications. One of its key features is the way it handles and manipulates data. And in this video, we'll take a look at the different data types available in Java. Whether you are a beginner or an experienced Java programmer, this video will give you a quick and easy introduction to the different data types available in this programming language. Before we start with the topic, if you enjoy watching these videos and find them interesting, please subscribe to our channel because we bring the best videos for you daily. Also hit the bell icon to get notified whenever we drop a new video. So without any further delay, let's hand over this session to our training experts.
Let's get started with today's topic, which is about primitive data types in Java. We are going to learn about the primitive data types in Java, and we'll also see a short demonstration of it. So let's get started. Let's first just learn about those data types. I've just opened the official Oracle documentation. And don't worry, if you see how this link appears here, you can just open a browser window and just type Java primitive data types. And if you hit enter, the first link which you will be given is this particular link, and this is the same link which I have opened. So let's learn about the data types now. So Java has these primitive data types, which you can see here. Some of them store numbers, some of them store Boolean values, and some of them store characters. So the data types which store numbers are byte, short, int, long, float, and double. These 6 data types basically are used to store any kind of numeric value. Let's understand these a bit more. Byte is the shortest possible data type value which you can use in Java to store numbers. You can only store numbers within the range of -128 to +127. So you can see the range is very small, and Java has created this variable for use cases where you want to store numbers which have very small value in this range. Why do we provide these kind of options? Just to save memory, because the smaller data type will require less memory to be used in the Java program. Similarly, the next bigger data type is short, which is a bit bigger than byte. And the range of this particular data type variables will range from -32678 to +32767. So that is the range for this particular variable. And you can see that it has a very big range as compared to the byte data type. So if you want to store values which lie in this range, you can use short. The next one is int data type. You can use this one to store even larger values, which range from -2 raised to power 31 to +2 raised to power 31 minus 1. The next one is long, which is even bigger than int, and it can be used to store the values within the range of -2 raised to power 63 to +2 raised to power 63 minus 1. So as you can see, as we go from top to bottom, from byte to long, the size of the value which can be stored using this data type increases. And that's how you will basically take a decision of whether you want to use byte or you want to use short or int or long, based on what size of the value that variable is going to contain. Then the next ones are float and double. These two have been created for the use cases where you want to store the values, numeric values, which have decimals, which are precision values. I should also mention that byte, short, int, and long are only used for storing absolute numbers which do not have any decimal representation. Even if you try to store a decimal value in these variables, they will automatically be trimmed. The decimal values will automatically be removed, and you will only be shown the absolute values. And in case of float and double, they can maintain those precision and decimal values. So we use float for the use cases where you want to store decimal representations of the values. And you can see that the float value can store a smaller precision value, but double can store even a bigger precision value. So if you have really big precision values to be maintained, very big decimal values to be maintained, you should use double. And the float is used for storing a bit smaller size of the precision values. I mean, its range of values basically beyond the scope of this discussion. If you want to read more about this, you can go to these particular links, which will explain this in detail. But the basic idea is that float is good for storing 2 precision values. And if you want to go beyond that, you want to use double. In some cases, some people also use float to store even beyond 2 values as well. So it completely depends. The decision factor is how long the value you are going to store in the decimal. And that will decide whether you want to use float or double. The next one is Boolean, which is used for storing the Boolean values. Boolean values can be either true or false. So there are only 2 possible values. And then we have char, which is used for storing characters. It is using 16-bit to store the value. And this is a very popular Java question for beginner level programmers, that why does it need 16-bit to store the character? It's because it stores a Unicode representation. Unicode representation is a representation which can be accepted across platforms, across the world, in different character encodings. So let's move on to Eclipse now, where I have prepared a very short and simple demo. I'm just creating a variable for each data type and I'm printing them. You also see some things here like these keywords, and don't worry about these keywords. I will cover these keywords in detail in the upcoming lectures. You also see this, and you can just, for now, you can remember that system.out.println is used for printing anything in Java. Anything you want to print on the console, you would be using system.out.println. What is system, what is out, and what is println? Again, we will cover these in the upcoming lectures. For now, I'm just creating a bunch of data types here, variables here basically. I'm creating a char type variable, a byte type variable, a short type variable, an int type variable, a float type variable, a double, and a boolean. The way you create variables is basically you put the data type name, you put the variable name, which can be anything, you put an equal sign, and you put the value, actual value which this variable is going to store. And I've done the similar thing for all of these variables. Java wants semicolons to be there when you write your statements. So please remember that your statements always end with semicolons. So I've declared all of these variables here, a byte, a short, an int, float, double, and boolean. And then I'm printing all of them basically. Here I'm printing the char variable, here I'm printing the byte variable, here I'm printing the short, and so on and so forth. So how do we actually run this application or this program? You just double click on this or right click on this. You go to this run as option. You see this run as Java application option. So you can hit this option. It will run the application and it will present all the output here in the console tab. Let me just bring this up. So you can see all the variables have been printed here, and this is coming from these print statements. Like I said, this is used, system.out.println is used to basically print anything. And I've used that to print all the variables here. First, I'm printing the char variable whose value is A. Then I'm using the byte variable, which is denoted by B and whose value is 2. So you can see the value is 2 here. Then I'm printing the third variable, which is C, which is a short type variable, which has a value 22. You can see short, and this is coming here. The next print statement is int. So you can see int here with the value 45, and this value is coming from here. Then we have float. You can see the float value being printed here, and you can see the float value declared here. You also see an F here, and this is the standard naming convention which Java proposes, that whenever you declare float and double, you end them with F or D based on whether it is float or it is double. Then you see the double value, which is having a bigger precision than float. So I've printed the double value using this particular print statement, which is printed here. And then we have the Boolean value, which is stored as G, and the value of G is true, and the same value is printed here. So whatever I write here basically is printed here. This is just a placeholder, and this is the actual value. So you can see that we are able to use all the variables here, all the primitive variables basically, which range from byte, character, byte, short, int, float, double, and boolean. When we talk about which all are the non-primitive data types, we broadly talk about arrays, we talk about classes, we talk about strings as well. And we will cover some of them in today's lecture. And we have a detailed lecture upcoming about the classes as well. In fact, after a few lectures, we'll cover how we'll create classes as well. But for today's lecture, we are going to focus on string data type and array data type. And like I said, for classes, we have a dedicated lecture upcoming. So don't worry about that. And again, for this particular case as well, I have already prepared a demo for this, and we'll basically do some look at some hands-on examples to see how do we create these variables, what does these variables mean. And the first non-primitive data type we are going to talk about is string. And before I go on further, I should also mention that it's very debatable in the Java community to call string as a non-primitive data type. And actually, technically speaking, string is a special data type. It neither fully lies in the primitive category, nor it fully lies in the non-primitive categories. I'm covering this as a non-primitive data type because it's a bit inclined towards the non-primitive category. Why do we do this? Is because Java does provide native support for string handling in the JDK. And that's the reason some of the developers feel that string is a primitive data type, which is primitively supported by Java. But at the same time, string is so customizable and it's so special in nature it's the way it stores the value, the way it provides the operations and handlings. It's so different than primitive data types that it cannot fully be put in the same bucket as the primitive data types. So that's why I said it's a special data type, a bit inclined towards the non-primitive category. So what is string basically? We covered about the char data type in the previous lecture, and in char data type, you can only store a single character, right? But if you want to store a complete name of somebody, then it's a list of characters. It's basically a lot of characters together. Then in that case, you would need a data type to store that continuous sequence of characters. And that's what string does. String can store a continuous sequence of characters. Technically, string is basically a character array. You can call string as a character array. And don't worry if you don't understand about the word array. I will explain that in the same lecture. So basically, it stores the continuous sequence of characters. That's how we define string. And you see this string, this is basically the keyword, the data type basically in Java. So whenever you want to create a string, you need to write string with S capital. You need to give a name to the string. This can be anything. And then you can provide the value, which this particular string is going to contain. So you can see this is a continuous sequence of characters. T, E, S, T are the 4 characters which this string is going to contain. And after that, again, I'm printing this particular value. And like I said, don't worry about this. We'll cover this when we'll write our first program in Java. So this is just to print the string value. I'm just putting a string placeholder here, and then I'm actually printing the values of the string variable. Now, string can be created in multiple ways in Java. This is one way of creating it. There's another way of creating a string variable, which is this one, which says, again, the string data type, some variable name, a keyword called new. Again, don't worry about what is this new keyword. We'll cover this when we'll talk about running our first program in Java and writing the first program from scratch. Then we again say string, and then we provide the value. So if I compare this line number 4 to line number 7, you can see the difference is that I'm still storing the same value, test, but the difference is that here there is no new string keyword, but here we have this new string keyword. So what is the difference? The difference is this, that in this case, in this particular case, string is going to reuse the same object multiple times. But in this case, every time you call this, it is going to create a new object. Again, what is object? It's just, you can think of it as, for now, you can think of it as a memory block. We'll again cover objects in details. But these are 2 different ways in which you can create string. This is generally the most popular way of doing it because this is memory efficient, because you can reuse the same variable again and again. So I'm creating the string variable here and creating another string variable str1 here and printing both of them. Then I've created this strange looking thing here, which is basically an array. Array, like I said, is also a non-primitive data type in Java, and array can store a continuous sequence of anything. That anything can be a number, that anything can be characters, that anything can be a floating number as well. So basic idea is that if you want to store a collection or a sequence of multiple values, how do you do that? You do that with the help of arrays. Array is a data structure, a non-primitive data structure in Java, which can store a lot of values of similar type. We also call it as homogeneous data structure, because it can only store same data type values or homogeneous data type values. So the biggest way to identify array is this square bracket. Whenever you see this square bracket in Java, it means it's an array variable. So here I am creating an integer array variable with the name ARR. This is the name of this particular array. It is only going to store integer values because I've specified int. And the moment I provide the square brackets, it means that it is an array. So you can declare an array like this, and then you need to assign a size to the array. Size is basically denoting how many values this data structure is going to store. So I'm saying new, again, it's a keyword, and I'm saying that, okay, create a memory block for storing 2 integers. So this particular array ARR can store at max 2 values at continuous locations. The next thing about array is that it stores the value in a 0 index based location. So like I said, it can store 2 values. So the first location will always be array of 0. And this is how you specify the location or index of the element which is going to be stored. So at the 0th location of this array, I'm storing 0. The first location of the array, I'm storing 1. And this is just to show an error scenario, but I will just comment this for now. You can just put double slashes and comment any line. So I'm just storing, filling up this array for 2 values, and the 2 values location would be 0 index and first index. These are just continuous memory locations, and we denote those memory locations as 0 and 1. Array indexes always start with 0, and I'm just putting some values here. You can put any values. And then I'm printing the whole array, and I'm also printing the first value of the array. And we'll see how this pans out, and we'll also see how we can change this. So now we are going to run this application. So I'll just go to run as and click on run as Java application. And once I hit that, I get this output here. So let's understand this output. The first one is I'm just printing the string, which has the value test. And you can see it has printed here. It is coming from this line. Then the next line which is printed is line number 8, where I'm saying another string str1. And str1 also had the same value. So you can see another string has the same value. And then I have printed the array here, the complete array. And you see this strange value here. It also tells us that if you want to print the array, then you cannot just put the variable name and print it. The reason is because this is a non-primitive data type. And once you do this, it is basically printing the memory footprint of this array, the whole memory location where this array is stored. That's why you see this strange looking number, which is the memory hash code. And if you want to print any particular value or any particular element inside this array, then you can do that by providing the index location of that element. So here I've said that print the 0th location element of the array. The 0th location array element of the array was 0. So you can see the value 0 here. Let me put some other value just for fun and show you how this works. So I've just changed the values, and now let's see what do we get for array 0. You can see now I get value 3 because now at the 0th location, the 3 value is being stored, and that is what is being printed here. We can also print the first value. I'll just go run as Java application. You can see now the array of first index is being stored, which is basically technically the second element of the array. But because array always works on a 0 index based value format, that's why when we say array 1, the second element is printed. When I say array 0, the first element is printed. So always remember that array is a 0 index based collection or data structure basically. What happens if I do this? Now there is no third element in this array because the array has the size only of 2 elements. And when I say ARR of 2, which means I'm trying to print the third element in this array, which does not exist. So let's see what happens in that case. I get an exception. Exception is basically an error. I get an error saying that index 2 is out of bounds for length 2. It means that the array length was actually 2 and index 2 does not exist. Remember, it's saying index 2, not the element 2. Index 2 doesn't exist because only index 0 and index 1 exist. This makes 2 elements and the actual size is also 2. It does not have capacity to store third element. It does not have third element location anywhere. That's why it complains that you are trying to print a non-existing value.
The API or application programming interface is one of the biggest technological advancement. Java's application programming interface is a predefined software tool that easily enables interactivity between multiple applications. So this particular tutorial will be all about Java APIs. So before getting started, I would like to let you know that we have daily updates on multiple technologies. So if you are a tech geek, then consider getting subscribed to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to never miss an update from our end. So without further ado, let's begin with the agenda for today's discussion. At first, we will understand what exactly is a Java API and where did it originated from. Followed by that, we will understand the need for Java's API, who exactly uses it and for what purpose. Next, we have the types of Java APIs. Followed by that, we'll understand the data and API services provided. Then the API service protocols. Followed by that, we have the most commonly used APIs list. And finally, we'll wind up the session by understanding the advantages of Java APIs. So I hope I made myself clear with the agenda. Now let's begin with the first topic. So before we begin with what exactly is a Java API, we will understand what Java is. So basically, Java consists of two major components that are Java Runtime Environment and Java Development Kit. So when we get into Java's API, we might want to dig a little deep into Java's Development Kit. So JDK consists of three more major components that are the Java's compiler, Java Virtual Machine, and APIs. Now we will learn each one of them in a bit more detailed way. So at first we have the Java's compiler. So Java compiler can be defined as a software program that is designed to convert the high level, that is the user return or user readable code, into the computer readable code, that is the machine level or byte code. So this particular byte code will be transferred to the next state where we find the JVM. So what is JVM? So JVM is an abbreviation for Java's Virtual Machine. So Java's Virtual Machine is responsible for processing all the byte codes and providing an output to the user. Next, we find our topic for today's discussion, that is the Java API. So just like Java's virtual machine and compiler, Java's APIs are the integral software packages that come with the JDK. The primary intention of API is to establish communications between different applications. So on my screen you can see a pictorial representation of Java API's architecture. So at first we have the Java's program on the topmost layer. So this particular segment will be having the user return program in user language. Followed by that, we have the interpreter, Java's API, and the Java's virtual machine, which are responsible for reading and compiling the Java's program. So at the last final level, we have the application hardware, which is responsible for interacting to the Java's program. So this is how the Java API's architecture looks like. Now followed by this, let's dive into the next topic. So in the next topic, we find the types of developers using various types of APIs for different jobs. So at first we have the open developers, next we have the internal developers, and at last we have the partner developers. Don't worry, we will understand each of these developers in a bit more detail and along with some examples for a better understanding. So at first we have the open developers. So open developers are used by top-end companies. So leading companies provide access to their APIs as open source through authentication via a unique secret key to keep track and ensure the legal usage. So basically what happens here is there might be some big companies like social media companies or some more other companies which provide the API they use for their applications as open source to the developers. So these open developers get access to their APIs through getting authentication. So they'll be creating a profile, they'll be providing the research details of their application, like what are they using that particular API for and other reasons to use those APIs. Then they get the unique secret key from the owner of that API. And that's done just to keep track that the API provided is not misused. So the open developers majorly include the B2C teams, and some of the major companies that provide the APIs for open developers are Twitter and Telnix. So one best example is the Twitter, where the Twitter provides Twitter API for the Twitter developer accounts for using that for any kind of developing things or some data science applications and much more. So followed by the open developers, next we have the internal developers. So you can consider internal developers as an organization. So the internal developers belong to a specific organization and work in a closed environment. These APIs run with a high security that can establish communication between the application and the application hardware. So only the internal developers, that is the developers belonging to that particular organization, have the access to that particular API. So this particular type of APIs run on a high security level. So internal developers majorly include B2C teams, B2B teams, A2A teams, and B2E teams. So some of the major companies that provide the internal APIs are Instagram, Google Mail, and Google Cloud Virtual Machines. Next we have the partner APIs. So the partner developers are similar or like internal developers, but the only difference is there is a collaboration between two or multiple companies. For example, consider yourself to be linked with a different company and you both wanted to create an application. So only you both can have access to that particular API that you're using to create your application. So partner developers majorly use the B2C teams, and the major companies providing the partner APIs are Microsoft and Finextra. So with this, we finished the first topic, that was what is API and who exactly uses it and for what purposes. Now we dive into the next segment where we learn the need for Java APIs. So why exactly we need Java APIs? Now Java APIs are used for multiple reasons. But the three most important reasons for which we use Java APIs are to streamline the operations, improvise the businesses, and finally create some powerful applications. We will discuss each one of them in a bit more detail. So the first one is to streamline operating procedures. We have multiple social media applications like Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp, etc. Followed by that, we have multiple delivery applications such as Amazon, Flipkart. Then we have the F&B such as Zomato, Swiggy, etc. So all these applications are running smooth and hassle-free because of the significant improvement in the implementation of Java APIs. By using Java's APIs, users are provided with multiple options on the screen. So this kind of approach makes the functionality very simple and easy to use. Followed by this, the next important requirement is to improvise the business. Introducing APIs to the public leads many companies to release private data to generate new ideas, fixing existing bugs, and receive new ways to improvise operations. The Twitter developer account is an example for API that gives programmers private API keys to access Twitter data and develop applications. Followed by that, we have the third one, which is to create the powerful applications. Online banking has changed the industry forever, and APIs offer the customer's ability to manage their finances digitally with complete simplicity. So this is made possible only by the use of APIs. Now followed by this, we will dive into the next topic where we understand the types of Java APIs. So basically there are 4 different types of APIs in Java. They are public, private, partner, and composite. We will discuss each one of these APIs in a bit more detail. At first, we will deal with the public API. So what are public APIs? Public means open. So public or open APIs are Java's APIs that come with the JDK, and they do not have any strict restrictions about how developers use them. So followed by the public APIs, we have the private APIs. So the private or internal APIs are developed for a specific organization. These particular APIs will be accessible through the authentication by only the employees belonging to that particular organization. So followed by private APIs, we have the partner APIs. So similar to private APIs, even partner APIs are having some authentication process to use. So the only difference is here, instead of one organization, we might have 2 or multiple organizations, and the employees belonging to that particular group of organizations will be able to access the APIs and implement them or use them. Followed by partner APIs, we have the last one, which is the composite API. Composite APIs are microservices, and developers build them by combining several service APIs. Now that we have covered the different types of APIs, let us now discuss the categorization of Java APIs based on the services that different varieties of APIs in Java provide. So data and API services are another way to categorize Java APIs other than the previous type, which is the public, private, partner, and composite. APIs are also classified based on their data manipulation capabilities and the variety of services they offer. So this type of categorization has 4 different types, which are the internal API services, external API services, CRUD operations, and user interface services. We will understand each one of them in a bit more detail. At first, we will understand internal API services. Internal API services are developed to offer organizations services specific to that particular organizations. These services include only complex data operations and internal processes. Followed by internal API, we have the external API. External API are open source APIs that developers integrate into existing application or website. So internal APIs are something similar to private APIs, and external APIs are something similar to public APIs. Next, we have the CRUD operations. So CRUD APIs provide data manipulation operations over various data storage units such as software and service, that is SaaS, and relational database management systems such as RDBMS, using standard data storage unit connecting tools like database connectivity, that is JDBC, etc. Next, we have the user interface services. User interface service APIs are open source APIs that allow developers to build user interfaces for mobile devices, computers, and electronics. Now, let's examine the rules and protocols that Java APIs must follow. So that brings us to API service protocols. The rules and protocols guide the different functionalities of Java APIs. So different APIs have different service protocols. Let's consider an example for RESTful API service protocol as an example. So for a typical RESTful API, developers must follow the following rules. For a typical RESTful API, developers must follow these rules: stateless, uniform interface, client server, cache, layer. No worries, we will discuss each one of these protocols in detail. First, we will discuss stateless. So what exactly is stateless? So since the RESTful API follows client-server architecture by default, it is recommended that RESTful API services to be stateless all the time. Next, we have the uniform interface. The entities in a RESTful API are server and clients. Applications that run on global scale need uniform client and server interface through Hypertext Transfer Protocol or HTTP, and Uniform Resource Identifiers URI will allocate the required resources. Next, we have the client server. The client-server model used in the RESTful API should be fault-tolerant. Both the client and server are expected to operate independently. The changes made at the client end should not affect the server, and vice versa. Next, we have the cache. Including a cache memory allows the application to record intermediate responses and run faster in real time. A RESTful API also includes the cache memory. And next, we have the layer. A RESTful API is built using layers. Layers of API are loosely coupled or independent from each other. Each layer contributes a different level of hierarchy and also supports encapsulation. Next, we will go through some frequently used APIs. So this is the list of most frequently used APIs in real time. So we have Web API, Facebook 4J, Twitter 4J, Android API, Java Advanced Imaging, Java Data Objects, and you can also see the acronyms for them in the right column. So some of them have no acronyms and some of them have acronyms. For example, we have Android API as Google, Java Advanced Imaging as JAI, Data Objects as JDO, etc. So moving into the next slide, we have a few more APIs. So we have RESTful APIs, Java Media Frameworks, Java Persistent APIs, Java Speech API, Java 3D, Java USB for Windows, etc. And similarly on the right column, we have their acronyms. So for Java Media Frameworks, we have JMF. For RESTful APIs, we have nothing. And Java 3D, we have J3D, Java Speech API as JS API, and few others. So followed by this, we will advance into the next topic where we will discuss about the advantages of using Java's APIs. Now, using Java's APIs will help you with multiple advantages. Now we will discuss the most important advantages of using Java's APIs. So the first one, we have the extensive SQL support. APIs in Java enable a wide range of SQL support services in users' applications through a component-based interface. Next, we have applications. APIs in Java provide effortless access to all of an application's major software components and easily deliver services. Next, we have efficiency. Java's APIs are highly efficient because they enable rapid application development. Also, the data that the application generates is always available online. Next, we have the automation. API allows computers to automatically upload, download, update, and delete data automatically without human interaction. Followed by that, we have integration. Java APIs can integrate to any application and website and provide a fluidic experience with dynamic data delivery. Followed by that we have scope. Java's APIs make websites, application and information available to a wide range of users and audience. Followed by that we have customization. Java APIs enable developers and businesses to build applications that personalize user interface and data. And finally, we have the adaptability. Java APIs are highly flexible and adaptable because they can easily accept feature updates and change to frameworks and operating systems. We will learn about servlets in Java. So without much of ado, let's quickly begin with our session. Now, let's have a quick look on the agenda for today's session. First, we will understand what exactly is a servlet clearly. Then, we will move ahead into Java servlets lifecycle. Followed by that, we will understand the Java servlet architecture. Once we have a good understanding of what exactly is a servlet and its lifecycle along with its architecture, we will move ahead into its features. After finishing with the features, we will now enter into the practical session where we will understand setting up the environment for Java servlets. Now, setting up the environment for Java servlets is the most tedious task and many fear it. But in actual case, it is not at all difficult. I will show you how to set up the environment for Java servlets and execute a sample program for a better understanding of Java servlets practically. After that, we will discuss some of the major advantages and disadvantages of using Java servlets. Followed by that, we will learn the CGI with a brief introduction. Then, the differences between CGI and servlets. Next up, we will learn how the request and response work. Finally, we will conclude the session by learning the process of session tracking and cookies. Hope we are clear with the agenda. Now, let us quickly start the session. So the first question, what exactly is a servlet? Now, imagine you are searching for some information on the internet. You open your local browser and start typing it. This question from you to the internet is called as request. So further, this request is sent to the cloud, or in technical terms, your browser sends your request to the respective server responsible for storing for that particular information and helps you with it when requested. Now the server gets triggered with your request and in return, it helps you back with the information you have requested for. This answer from the server is called the response. So this is how the request and response work in a server. For this process to happen so smoothly and effectively, we need a servlet. Digging a little deep into the server, we find the component responsible for such an effective job. It is called the servlet container that holds Java-based web application and a set of individual components called as servlets. Now, we are close to our answer. So this particular Java-based component takes care of web request and response. To sum it up with the form of a definition, we can define it as follows. A servlet is a Java program that runs on the Java-enabled web server or application server. They are used to handle the request obtained from the web server, process the request, produce the response, and then send a response back to the web server. Now, hoping that it was a clear explanation, can we move ahead with the next topic? So the next topic we have is, so how does the servlet work in reality, or more practically or in depth? What's the life cycle of a servlet? So the life cycle of a servlet in real time has the following stages. These stages are the ones that a Java servlet actually follows in real life to get our work done. So the stages are init, service, and the CRUD operations, which are the get, post, put, delete, and finally destroy. Now let us understand each one of them in a bit more detail. The first one is the init process. The init method is called only once. It is called only when the servlet is created and not for all the requests afterwards. So it is used for the one-time initializations, just as with the init method of applets. The servlet is normally created when a user first invokes a URL corresponding to the servlet, but you can also specify the servlet is loaded when the server first started. When a user invokes a servlet, a single instance of each servlet gets created, with each user request resulting in a new thread that is handed over to the doGet or doPost as appropriate. The init method simply creates or loads some data that will be used throughout the lifecycle of a servlet. Followed by the init method, we have the service method. So what is service method? Service method is the main method to perform the actual task. The servlet container, that is the web server, calls the service method to handle requests from the client or the browser and to write the formatted response back to the client. Each time the server receives a request from the servlet, the server spawns a new thread and calls service. The service method checks the HTTP service type and accordingly performs the CRUD operations, which are the get, post, put, delete, etc. and calls do get, do post, do put, do delete, etc. methods as appropriate. The service method is called by the container and service method invokes do get, do post, do put and do delete, etc. methods as appropriate. So you have nothing to do with service method, but you override either with do get, do post and other types depending on what type of request you receive from the client. So this is how the init and service methods work. Now digging a little deeper, we have the do get, do post, do delete and do put methods. So first we will discuss about do get method. So what exactly does a do get method do? A get request results from a normal request from a URL or an HTML form that has no method specified, and it should be hardly by do get method. Followed by do get, we have do post. A do post request results from a HTML form that specifies list post as the method, and it should be handled by do post method. Similar to do get and do post, the do put and do delete options are usually used to update and delete the data when asked by the client. So to sum up these do get, do post, do put, do delete, we can consider them as CRUD operations. So do get basically gets the information what you're looking for. Do post method usually posts the information or provides you with the response from the server, and followed by that we have the do put, which is usually used to update the data which is present on your server, and finally delete, which is used to delete an existing data on your server. So these can be considered as CRUD operations. And finally we arrive at the last method, which is the destroy method. The destroy method is called only once at the end of the life cycle of a servlet. This method gives your servlet a chance to close database connections, halt background threads, write cookie list or hit accounts to the disk, and performs other such cleanup activities. So with this we finish up the life cycle of a servlet. Now we shall understand its architecture. Basically, the architecture of a servlet can be understood by reverse engineering the lifecycle of a servlet. So this is how the servlet execution takes place when a client or a browser makes a request to the web browser. So the servlet architecture includes the following. First one, servlet interface. To write a servlet, we need to implement the servlet interface. Servlet interface can be implemented directly or indirectly by extending generic servlet or HTTP servlet class. Followed by that, the next part is request handling methods. As we have discussed before, there are mainly three methods defined in servlet interface, which are init, service, and destroy. And inside service, we have do put, do post, do get, and do delete methods. The first time a servlet is invoked, the init method is called. It is called only once during the life cycle of a servlet. So we can put all your initialization code here. The service method is used for handling the client request. As the client request reaches the container, it creates a thread of servlet object, and request and response object are also created. These request and response objects are then passed as parameter to the service method, which then processes the client request. The service method in turn calls the do get, do post methods if the user has extended the class from HTTP servlet. And lastly, the creation of instances. This is based on the load of the servlet. So with this, we have finished the architecture of servlet. Moving further, we shall quickly discuss the features of servlets and then enter into the practical mode. So the following are the features of Java servlets. The first feature is Java servlets are portable in nature. As I have mentioned above, the servlets use Java as programming language. Since Java is a platform-independent programming language, the same holds true for servlets. For example, you can create a servlet on Windows operating system that uses Glassfish as a web server and then later run it on any operating system like Unix, Linux, and Apache Tomcat web server. This feature makes servlet portable, and this is the main advantage of servlet over CGI. We shall discuss all the differences of CGI versus servlet in the next section. For now, we will discuss the features. Followed by the first feature, we will now enter into the second feature, which says Java servlets are efficient and scalable. Once a servlet is deployed and loaded onto a web server, it can instantly start fulfilling the request of the clients. The web server invokes servlet using lightweight thread, so multiple client requests can be fulfilled by servlet at the same time using the multi-threading feature of Java. Compared to CGI, where the server has to initiate a new process for every client request, the servlet is truly efficient and scalable. The next and the final feature of Java servlets is they are robust and highly secure. By inheriting the top features of Java, such as garbage collector, exception handling, Java security manager, etc., the servlet is less prone to memory management issues and memory leaks. This makes the development of web applications in servlets secure and less error prone. So these were the important features of Java servlets. Now let us enter the practical mode. So we are in the practical mode right now. There were two parts in the practical mode. The first one was to set up the environment for Java servlets, and the second one was to execute a basic program. So this document has the following steps to follow. That is the prerequisites before executing a Java servlet program. So we have these prerequisites where we have to set up Java home and Java path. Followed by that we need to set up the home and path for JRE, which is the Java runtime environment, and finally Catalina home and path. So Catalina home and path is nothing but the Tomcat server home and path. Now we will set up these things by using the environment variables. Now I'm using a Windows operating system, so I'll be using the control panel to enter the environment variables. There you go, you have edit environment variables. So inside that just select environment variables, and inside this you can see that I have already set up the environment variables for Catalina home, Java home and JRE home. So now let us just select Java home and edit it so that we can see how did I set it. So you can see I have named the variable name as Java home, and inside the variable value I have a location. So this location is nothing but the Java JDK location in my local system. Now followed by that we have JRE home. So similar to Java home, we have set up the JRE home as variable name is equals to JRE home, and the variable value is the location of JRE folder in my local system. So I have my JRE folder in my local system at C drive program files Java JRE, and similarly the Catalina home, which is inside my program files Apache Software Foundation and Tomcat 8.5. So similarly, we'll also check up the path variables. So inside system variables, you can see the path, just edit it. So then you can see the path variables set for Java, JRE and Tomcat. Now just select OK, OK, and finally another OK. Now your prerequisites have been set up. So this is how you set them. So in case if you have doubts about the Tomcat version to download, then I'll help you with that. Just open Google and type in Tomcat download. So now you have entered Apache Tomcat official site, and since I'm using a Windows operating system, I'll be selecting the 32-bit or 64-bit Windows Service Installer version. And after this gets downloaded, you need to set up the home and path variables for Catalina server. So once after the environment is set up, you need to follow 4 stages to create a servlet program, which are creating a dynamic web project, create a servlet, add servlet API jar file and run the servlet. So to create a dynamic web project, you need to select new, and inside that you have the option of other. Just select other, and inside that you'll be finding web. So select web, and inside that you need to select the dynamic web project and select next. So you just need to name to your dynamic web project. So I'll be naming as server, then select next, and inside that you have a source folder, and now you can select finish. Now there you go. Java Eclipse will ask you for opening this particular in Java EE perspective. Then just select open perspective. Now basically Java will set up everything you need here. And there you go. You can see server folder here, which has already set up everything you need. Now what you need to do is set up a new servlet. So right click this and select new, and inside that you can see the option of servlet. Just select it. Now you can see a new dialog box, and here you need to set up the class name. For now, let's just type in hello and go to next. Now again next, and in here you have a lot of options. So for now we are just executing a basic program, so let's just select do get method. Now let's just finish it, and there you go. Your servlet has been ready. So this is the basic template created by Eclipse for you. Now next we need to add in the build path. So for that you need to right click the server and then select build path, and here configure build path. From here you can add the external library. Select the external libraries option, and you can see I have the Tomcat libraries here. Just select all and open. And that's how you add all the required libraries of Tomcat server. Now apply and close. Now the last step is to execute the project. Now just to save time, I have already typed in the program, which is over here. Now let's try to execute this. This program will just provide us a simple output, which is none other than hello world. Now the server I have chosen is Tomcat server. Let's finish it. So there you go. The message has been displayed successfully. Hello, welcome to Simplilearn. Now we'll move ahead with our next topic. Now that we are done with the environment setup and the basic example, let us now discuss the advantages and disadvantages of using Java servlets. So first, we will discuss the advantages. The following are the advantages of using servlets in Java. Servlet is convenient in modifying regular HTML. We can write the servlet code into JSP. Servlets include the feature of multi-threading of Java. We can make use of exception handling of Java. Servlets have a separate layer for business logic in the application. And finally, it is easy for developers to show and process the information. So these were the advantages of using servlets in Java. Moving ahead, we will discuss the disadvantages of using servlets. So following are the disadvantages of using servlets in Java. Designing a servlet is considered as a little complicated. Servlets often slow down the application. Business logic of servlet is difficult to understand. We need a JRE, which is the Java Runtime Environment, on the server to run our servlets. And finally, the data connectivity is a little complicated. So these were the major disadvantages of using servlets in Java. Moving ahead, we will understand CGI. Why are we learning CGI? Because even CGI is similar to servlets, and it also does the web interactive job similar to servlets. So thought you should know about some basics of it. So let's understand its definition and architecture real quick. So the CGI, or Common Gateway Interface, is a standard for writing programs that can interact through a web server with a client running on web browser. These programs allow a web developer to deliver dynamic information, usually in the form of an HTML, via the browser. A CGI program can be written in any language including Java that can be executed by your web server. CGI programs are commonly used to add search engines, guestbook applications, database query engines, interactive user forums, and other interactive applications to websites. In very basic terms, a CGI program must interpret the information sent to it, process the information in the same way, and generate response that will be sent back to the client. Most of the input of CGI program is passed into through environment variables. So with this, we will move ahead into the architecture of Common Gateway Interface. So you can see the architecture of Common Gateway Interface is completely similar to Servlet. Normally, the request is sent in the form of an HTTP request. So this particular HTTP request is divided amongst the CGI shells, and it will be processed by the CGI shells based on the program provided, and the response is sent to the user. Now moving ahead, we shall understand the differences between the Common Gateway Interfaces and the Servlet. So the first difference is the Common Gateway Interface scripts are executable codes written in native operating system, while on the other hand, the servlets are written and run using the Java virtual machine. The next difference is the Common Gateway Interface performance is considered to be low compared to servlets. On the other hand, servlets are having high performance compared to CGIs. The third difference is, for a Common Gateway Interface, it is hard to switch between different platforms, that is the operating system platforms. When we come into servlets, the servlets are considered to be completely platform independent. Followed by that, the Common Gateway Interface scripts are directly executed. So on the other hand, servlets are translated into bytecode because the servlets are executed using the Java virtual machine. And in Java virtual machine, whatever the code you transfer, it will be converted into bytecode first, then executed. And the last difference is the Common Gateway Interface is not portable. And on the other hand, we have the Java servlets to be completely portable. So these are the major differences between the Common Gateway Interface and Java servlets. Now let us understand the Java servlets requests and responses. So first we will deal with the request phase. In request we have various types. The first one is being the HTTP request. The HTTP object is used to represent the HTTP request to a browser that the user sends to the web application. Thus, anything the browser sends is accessible through the HTTP request. Followed by the HTTP request, we have the request parameter. The request parameters are the parameters that are sent from the web browser along with the request. The request parameters are typically sent as a part of the URL or as a part of the body of an HTTP request. Followed by the request parameter, we have the request header. The request headers are the name value pairs sent by the browser along with the HTTP request. The request headers contain the information about the web browser software being used, what type of files that the web browser can receive, etc. Followed by the request header, we have the input stream. If the browser sends an HTTP post request, request parameters and other potential data is sent to the server in the HTTP request body, it doesn't have the request parameters that is sent in HTTP request body. It could be pretty much as the data like file or SOAP request. The next one is the request session. The session object can hold information about a given user between the requests. So if we have set an object into the session object during one request, it will be available for you to read during any subsequent request within the same session time scope. Followed by the request session, we have the servlet context. The servlet context contains the metadata related to the application. Followed by servlet context, we will enter the response phase. In the response phase, we will deal with the first one, which is the HTTP response. The HTTP response object is used to represent the HTTP response to your request. A web application sends back a response page to the user as a response to the HTTP request from the browser sent to your web application. Followed by the HTTP response, we have the write HTML. To initiate the process of sending the HTML back to the browser, you need to retrieve the print writer from the HTTP response object. This can be done using the write HTML. Followed by the write HTML, we have the response header. Similar to HTTP request, the HTTP response includes headers as well. These are responsible for all the data written in the response. Followed by response header, we have content type. The content type header is responsible to tell the browser about the type of content you are sending in the return. Followed by content type, we have the content length. The content length header is responsible for telling you about the number of bytes your servlet is sending you in return. followed by content length, we have redirection. Redirecting will help you to redirect yourself to the different web page from the current one. So these were the HTTP requests and responses in Java servlets. Now we will enter the next part where we will deal with the session tracking and cookies. So first, we will understand session tracking. Session simply means a particular time of interval. Session tracking is a way to maintain state or data belonging to a user. It is also known as session management in servlets. HTTP protocol is stateless, so we need to maintain state using session tracking techniques. Each time the user requests to the server treats the request as a new request. So we need to maintain the state of a user to recognize a particular user. You can understand this in a better way by looking at the picture showed on the presentation. Each time you send a request, you will be receiving a response from the server, as well as this particular request will be recorded as a state in order to recognize you as a particular user. Now, after session tracking, we will enter into cookies. Cookie is a small piece of information that is persisted between multiple client requests. A cookie has a name, a single value, and optional attributes such as comment, path and domain qualifiers, a maximum age, and a version number. By default, each request is considered as a new request. In cookie technique, we add a cookie with response from the servlet. So cookie is stored in cache of a browser. After that, if the request is sent by the user, the cookie is added with a request by default. Thus, we recognize the user as an old user. There are two types of cookies. They are non-persistent cookie and persistent cookie. Let's understand non-persistent cookie first. A non-persistent cookie is valid for a single session only. It is removed each time when the user closes the browser. Now, let us understand the persistent cookie. The persistent cookie is valid for multiple sessions. It is not removed each time when the user closes the browser. It is only removed when the user logs out or signs out from the browser.
I'll be showing you the installation for Git on Windows. So we'll start by downloading and installing Git on our system. We'll then have a look at the Git bash interface. We'll type in some basic Git commands. Next, we'll create a local repository. That is, we'll create a repository on our local machine. We'll then connect to a remote repository. And finally, we'll push the file onto GitHub. First things first, we need to download and install Git. So download Git for Windows. And I'll select the second link. So 2.19.1, which is the most latest version of Git, that's the one we want for Windows system. Choose your version. So mine is a 64-bit system and it's downloading. So this will take a while. So Git is finally downloaded. Now we need to install this on our system. Click here, run. So go to next. We don't have to change this path. Just click on in quick launch and on desktop. Next. Next, again next, nothing to change here either. And install. So now Git is getting installed on our system. So we don't need to view the release notes, we just want to launch the Git bash. So let's just tick that and then click on finish. And your Git bash interface appears here. So we are on the master branch. The first thing we do is we'll check the version for our Git. So the command is git -- version. And as you can see, version 2.19.1 on our Windows system, which is exactly what we just downloaded. We'll now explore the help command. So let's just type git help config. So config is another command. And as I hit enter, the manual page for the second command opened up, which is config. So what help command does is that it provides the manual or the help page for the command just following it. So in case you have any doubts regarding how a command is used, what a command is used for, or the various syntax of the command, you can always use the help command. Now there's another syntax for using the help command itself, which is git config -- help. Enter. This does the exact same thing, as you can see. Now that we looked at the help command, let's begin by creating a local directory. So mkdir test. Now test is my new directory. I'll move into this directory. So cd test. Great. So now that we are inside our test directory, let's initialize this directory. So git init is the command for initializing the directory. And as you can see the path here, this is the local path where a directory is created. So I'll just show you the directory test, and it's completely empty. What we do now is we'll create a text file within this new directory that we created. So new text document, and I'll just name this demo. I'll open this and just put in some dummy content. So hello Simplilearn. Save this file and go back to your bash interface. Let's just check the status now. So git status, and as you can see, our file has appeared, it's visible, but nothing is committed yet. So this means that we have not made any change to our file through the git tool itself. So the next thing that we are going to do is we'll be adding demo to our current directory. The next command that we'll be applying is the commit command. And when you add certain files to the current directory, the commit command is applied on all the above directories. So git commit -m and a message that will appear once the file is committed. So as you can see, one file is changed and one insertion. I'll just clear the screen. Next thing we need to do is we need to link our Git to our GitHub account. So the command for doing that is git config global user.username. And this will be followed by our username. So let me just show you my GitHub account. So this is my GitHub profile and my username is Simplilearn-GitHub. So guys, before you begin this procedure, just make a GitHub account. Type in my username here, Simplilearn-GitHub, and enter. And there you go. Our Git is successfully linked with GitHub. Next thing we do is we'll just open our GitHub and we'll create a new repository. Give a repository name. So I'll name it test_demo and create repository. Great. So our repository is created. This is our remote repository. What we do next is just copy the link and then go back to your bash interface. Now we need to link our remote and our local repository. So git remote origin and then paste the HTTP link. And now that our local repository and our remote repository are linked, we can push our local file onto our remote repository. So the command for doing that is git push origin master, as we are on the master branch. And that's done. So now let's move back to GitHub. I'll just click on test demo. And as you can see here, our local file has been pushed to our remote repository. With that, we have successfully completed our demo. If you have any queries regarding this, please post them in the comment section below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.
In this session, we will be going over the most common and popular Git commands. We will go through this session in two parts. In the first part, we shall learn the top 10 Git commands, and in the second part, we shall witness another 5 commands that are commonly used. But before we begin, make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel and don't forget to click on the bell icon so you never miss an update from Simplilearn. So without any further ado, let's get started. Let us first have a look at all the top 10 commands that we will be covering today. We shall see the git init command, followed by the git commit command and the git add command. Then we shall see the git status command and the git merge command. Moving forth, we will check the git push command, git pull command and the git clone command. Towards the end, we shall learn the git branch command and the git checkout command. The first command that we will see is the git init command. The git init command is used to initialize a blank repository. The command, when executed, creates a .git folder in the current working directory. The .git folder created will be a hidden folder, and that folder can only be seen by enabling the settings of viewing the hidden files. If we get into this folder, we will see a bunch of directories and configurations. Post this command, something called the master will appear on the screen. Whenever a Git repository is created for the first time, it creates a branch. The branch name is master, which is why we see a master on the screen. The second command is the git commit command. The git commit command is used to save changes to the local repository. The command helps you keep a record of all the changes made. The changes that are made are the ones that are added to the staging area. So it depends on us which file we want to commit. The command used before the git commit command is the git add command. So the next command we will see is the git add command. The git add command is used to add the files to the staging area. When the git command is used with a full stop, it adds all the files in the repository to the staging area. We can see that before the add command, there were untracked files. But after the git add command, we can see the files are added to the staging area. We can also see the git status command is used here. So the next command that we must see is the git status command. The git status command is used to display the state of the working directory and the staging area. It lets us see which changes have been staged, which haven't been staged, and which files aren't being tracked yet. The git status command simply shows what is happening with git add and git commit. The status messages include relevant instructions for staging and unstaging the files. We can see on the screen that git status first shows untracked files, and after the git add is executed, the status command shows the status of the files as there are no commits yet, and the file name that was initially red in color becomes green now. Next, let's have a look at the git merge command. The process of merging can be defined as a way of putting a forked history back together. The git merge command is used to integrate different branches into a single branch. Here we can see the git merge command lets you take the independent lines of development created by the git branch and integrate them into a single branch. The next command we shall have a look at is the git push command. The git push command is used to push the local repository content to a remote repository. After a local repository has been modified, a push command is used to share the modifications with the remote team members. Here we can see when we use git push -u origin master, the objects are being pushed from the local repository to a remote repository. Followed by the git push command, let's have a look at the git pull command. Git pull command is a combination of git fetch followed by git merge command. The command is used to fetch and merge the changes from the remote repository to the local repository. The git fetch command downloads content from the required remote repository, and the git merge command combines multiple sequences of commits into a single branch. Here on the screen we can see the git pull command is pulling the files from the remote repository called the first repo, as we can see from the link followed by the git pull command. The next command is the git clone command. The git clone command, as the name suggests, is used to create a clone or a copy of the target repository. The command creates a copy of the target repository in a new directory at a new place. Here, we are using the clone or download link of a repository with the clone command. Hence, you can create a new directory to put files, allowing the same code to have multiple versions running on the same machine. Moving forth, the next command is the git branch command. The term branch refers to the independent line of development. The git branch command is used to create, list, rename, and delete branches. There are several ways the branch command may be used. Sometimes to create a branch or find the list of branches, or to rename a branch, or maybe to delete a branch. Here we can see the first command is used to create a branch with the name blr branch. The second command states that we are into that branch now and we are working on the blr branch. The 10th command we shall see is the git checkout command. The git checkout command works together with the git branch command. The command enables the navigation between the branches. Here we can see git checkout master command. The command states that we are switching onto the master branch from some other command. While we do execute these commands, we can see the files in the local repository fluctuating. When we execute the git checkout blr branch command, we are switching back onto the blr branch from the master branch that we were initially on. Now, when we know the top 10 commands, let's have a look at another 5 commands that are used along with these commands while we work on Git. The first command in this section is the git config command. The git config command is used to set configurations like name, email ID, etc. This information should be provided as soon as the Git is installed, since this information is used by Git at every commit. When we begin working with a Git bash, the first command we generally execute is the git config user.name command and git config user email ID command. The second command in this section is a git diff command. As the name suggests, git diff command is used to show the differences between the changes made on a file. The command is a multi-use command that runs the functions on different Git data sources. Moving forth, the next command is the git log command. The git log command is used to view the previous commits that have taken place in the Git project. It is a utility tool to have a look at the history of everything that happens to a repository. When the git log command is executed, the list that appears on the screen is in the reverse chronological order, which means it shows the most recent action on the top and the last action at the bottom. The fourth command is the git reset command. The command is used to undo the local changes that are made to the state of a Git repository. The command has three primary forms: soft, mixed, and hard. The last command we will see today is the git rebase command. The term rebasing refers to moving or combining a sequence of commits. The git rebase command is used to integrate changes from one branch to another.
Java is the leading programming language in the IT industry, and it is being used for almost every type of software development. From mobile phones to mainframes, Java is present everywhere. If you are a beginner or a software development aspirant, we would strongly recommend you to start working on real-time and full-fledged real-time Java projects. This Top 10 Java Projects video is wholly based on the same plan of helping fellow developers with real-time Java project ideas that would help you get another step closer to your dream role. These Java projects aren't just code. They represent a leap forward in technological progress, offering solutions that redefine efficiency, organization, and user experience across different domains. So join us on a journey through the top 10 Java projects where innovation meets functionality to shape the future of software development. So let's start with the first Java project, online banking. Online banking has changed the way banks usually function. It brought the most of time-consuming procedures like money transfer, RTGS, and NEFT to account holders' fingertips. Most of the national and multinational banks use internet banking these days. Experience details in one such project added to your resume would give a positive impact to your profile. An online banking system is a model, a banking site that helps customers to perform bank transactions through a phone or laptop. The project would be performing the following operations: homepage of the online banking site, creation of new accounts, login, logout, manage profile and password, view the balance of the account, deposit the amount, withdraw the amount, transfer the amount, and close account. Tools you prefer while working in online banking are Java, JavaScript, and Oracle. So let's move on to our second project, which is currency converter. This Java project serves as a fundamental tool for currency conversion, allowing users to seamlessly switch between different currencies through a web-based interface. An example scenario involves converting US dollars to Indian rupees, showcasing its practical applications. This project, resembling a calculator, utilizes Java Servlets, Ajax, and Applet to create an interactive web application. It updates currency value fluctuations and conversion rates regularly, ensuring users are always in the loop. These applications offer a convenient solution primarily employed in business, stock markets, and financial sectors where daily currency exchange and money transfer occurs. Technologies utilized: Java programming language and Ajax. The next project on the list is an online examination system. Most schools, colleges, universities, and even government and private offices have switched from traditional paper-based examinations to online examination. Due to the widespread applications, the project should be capable of some functionalities including login, update profile and password, selecting answers for MCQs, writing answers to the questions, and closing sessions and logout. Tools you prefer to work on online examination project is JavaScript. Next on the list is an airline reservation system. This Java project is developed to facilitate customers in the seamless online booking of tickets, offering features such as checking seat availability, accessing flight arrival details, selecting preferred classes, and reserving seats for both national and international flights. This Java project efficiently filters flight details, include timings and available seats by consolidating data from various airlines through globally distributed systems. Once customer details are entered, the system prompts the user to choose a flight with a preferred time slot, proceed with the payment, and complete the ticket booking. Technology is utilized: core Java, HTML, JavaScript, and SQL database. Moving forward, let's discuss some of the intermediate level Java projects. Number 5 on the list is a Flappy Bird game. The Flappy Bird game stands out as a straightforward Java-based gaming application where the primary character, a bird, endeavors to reach its destination by navigating through various obstacles. The utilization of the string component in Java proves to be an ideal choice for this gaming scenario. The game increments the count by 1 each time the bird successfully passes a hurdle, while also tracking the elapsed time. A collision with any obstacle results in the termination of the game. Technology is used: Java, Java Swing, Java AWT, and object-oriented programming concepts. Next on the list is a snake game. Recall those nostalgic moments when the snake game on Nokia mobile phones was a popular pastime. This snake game can be entirely realized through Java, incorporating a MySQL database and boasting a comprehensive graphical user interface. The game commences with a snake whose length increases with every food consumed. Navigation involves the snake turning left or right at 90-degree angles. The snake's journey concludes upon collision with a wall or any obstacle encountered along it. Technologies utilized are Java, MySQL database, JDBC, and JavaScript. Now moving on to number 7, we have an exam seating arrangement system. The exam seating arrangement system, an application implemented through JSP, Java, and MySQL, streamlines the task of organizing seat allocations for all students under examination supervision. This application captures comprehensive student details including name, roll number, section, branch, or year, and securely stores this information in databases. Administration duties such as managing these details are automated through the application. Technology is utilized: Java, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, MySQL, and Tomcat Server. Moving forward, let's discuss some of the advanced level Java projects. Speech recognition. The exponential rise in artificial intelligence and machine learning paved the way for speech recognition. It is widely used for many purposes like Alexa, Cortana, Google Translate, security, etc. In Java, the speech recognizer converts audio to text. Java.speech.recognition package defines the recognizer interface to support speech recognition, plus a set of supporting classes and interfaces. The project should be capable of certain tasks, including create a speech recognizer, allocate resources, load and enable grammar, attach result listener, commit changes, and process results. Tool you might prefer to work on the speech recognition project are Java and OpenCV. Next up we have face recognition. Face recognition is one of the most popular tools used in various domains like phones, law enforcement departments, etc. Working upon one such type of project will help you improve your skills by using multiple libraries, for example, OpenCV. Face recognition with OpenCV is an open source computer vision library with tons of modules like object detection, face recognition, and augmented reality. The project should be capable of certain tasks including managing users' faces, facilitate face identification, easy login and logout, store face IDs, identify suspect with just images, enhanced way to find cyber criminals. Tools you might prefer to work on facial recognition project are Java, OpenCV, Apache Ant, and MinGW60. Moving on to the last project of this video, we have a vehicle recognition system. Similar to face recognition, Java vehicle recognition also has a wide range of application in real time. The Java vehicle recognition application is used to identify vehicles by reading the license plate on it. A machine learning algorithm captures the image, reads the alphanumeric value on it, and fetches the vehicle's detail. Java ANPR is a number plate recognition software that implements algorithmic and mathematical principles from artificial intelligence, machine vision, and neural networks. The project should be capable of multiple tasks, including capture the image preprocessing, license character set segmentation, feature extraction, training neural network, evaluation, and result. Tools you might prefer to work on the vehicle recognition project are OpenCV, Java, and neural network. So these were the top 10 Java projects you can look for to accelerate your career in software development. With this, we have come to the end of this video. I hope you found this video informative and exciting. If you like this video, then give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Also, if you have any questions about the video, please feel free to ask them down in the comment section below, and our team of experts will definitely answer you as soon as possible. Thank you for watching and keep learning with Simplilearn.
Staying ahead in your career requires continuous learning and upskilling. Whether you're a student aiming to learn today's top skills or a working professional looking to advance your career, we've got you covered. Explore our impressive catalog of certification programs in cutting-edge domains, including data science, cloud computing, cybersecurity, AI, machine learning, or digital marketing. Designed in collaboration with leading universities and top corporations, and delivered by industry experts, choose any of our programs and set yourself on the path to career success. Click the link in the description to know more.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.